We're live.
This is music that's been destined for this time and age, bringing the message with solutions that prepares a way. While we're still human, moving closer towards the judgment day, they have invaded, grooming sheep unless they set the stage. I fear no evil, I got Jesus, my deliverer. I've been forgiven, saved, no longer a prisoner. I've been redeemed, made, I'm an alien, a visitor. That's right, I'm freed, I'm remade with the signature. Got a new vision, I've been saved because his son is risen. It's a decision that was made to send me on this mission, exposing lies and proclaiming truth without no fear. We see the signs of the times and we shout it clear. Unfolding prophecy that's obviously happening, erupting rapidly, it's absolutely baffling. We cannot panic even if they plan a whole pandemic. We knew eugenics was the scam to hybridize genetics. Needed a lie to unite the world to all obey. They've always tried throughout time to change our DNA, paving the way for the Antichrist and one world government with sheep are lining up to take the mark. They're loving it. What in the world could be happening? When everyone that you know has been controlled into panicking, mind control like the mannequins. It's just a sign of the times, revelation, unraveling. What in the world could be happening? When everyone that you know has been controlled into panicking, mind control like the mannequins. It's just a sign of the times, revelation, unraveling. Truth is exclusive, it's not relative, it's absolute. It's undisputed, it's been proven, there's no substitute. Conclusive facts are now offensive in our current times. You'll get attacked if you attempt to shift a paradigm. You can't relax enough to share your mind or even have a thought. You might get bullied by the left, acting like robots. Automatons that respond like they're human pawns. Virtue signaling their mass toward Babylon. In every area we're seeing mass hysteria, and not just in America but everywhere. Staring in the face of Armageddon as we're heading towards apocalyptic waters that we're treading toward America's dead end, producing misanthropic modern day demonic like embodiments, modifying the minds of bodies and environments, censoring anything that's offensive into the narrative, frightening anybody whose actions are not affirmative. So what's the real message we're seeing from these progressives? If you don't agree with them, then they get violent and aggressive. Essentially what they're doing is making people submissive, till eventually beliefs and opinions won't be permitted. What in the world could be happening? When everyone that you know has been controlled into panicking, mind control like the mannequins. It's just a sign of the times, revelation, unraveling. What in the world could be happening? When everyone that you know has been controlled into panicking, mind control like the mannequins. This is a sign of the times, revelation, unraveling. Open your eyes, hear the warning call. The great divide on both sides and the lies told big and small. But unified we will never fall. With Jesus Christ on our side, we're like watchmen on the wall. His word was given as pre-written future history, and can be counted on with confidence and certainty. Not poetry or allegory in its own category. Absolutely, positively, it's his story. For everything there is a season. There comes a time to serve a purpose that is planned out for a reason. When evil needs to be defeated, we must unite and come together and even fight if it be needed. Ready for anything, prepared for coming prophecy. It's like we're living in the movie Idiocracy. No second guessing, I got weapons, I got ammunition, both in the spiritual and physical. I have a mission, protect my faith and my family from the opposition. I'm not afraid to take a stand, make a split decision. I know my rights, I know the law, so don't you tread on me. Won't turn my cheek if you try to take my liberty. What in the world could be happening? When everyone that you know has been controlled into panicking, mind control like the mannequins. It's just a sign of the times, revelation, unraveling. What in the world could be happening? When everyone that you know has been controlled into panicking, mind control like the mannequins. It's just a sign of the Times, revelation, unraveling.
Yo, yo. Welcome to the stream.
Shout out Destiny Lab. Those guys are awesome.
Yeah, I like them, bro. I like them a lot.
So
One of my
this is
favorite creationist channels. Go ahead.
we're in part 4 now. We'll do another one next week. Another End Times Wednesday here with Iger TV, Christopher Silvius. So we're to talk about Europe and Islam and Bible prophecy, and then get into some other stuff that we normally do. You know, that's just obviously a little wild sometimes. We try to keep it civil,
Let's do it.
especially with Iger around. Things get a little out of the mainstream, you know, and then we go into
Bunch of stuff.
you know, I like to call it mind blowing. You know?
Mind blowing. Let's go, bro. What you got for us today? I'll tell you guys, whoever watches this later or now. So they blew up the Georgia Guidestones. I'm going to share some videos on that later. And that's about it, actually. That's all I got because it was all on my feed today. That's all I saw. And Instagram.
Who blew up the Georgia Guidestones?
Who did it? That's a good question. We're gonna explore that rabbit hole here later, unless you want to do it now. But we can go into whatever you had scheduled first, because just to get a feel for it. We'll come back to the Georgia Guidestones. It's interesting.
But it's like what I'm be talking about is Europe and Islam, which I believe will come together to form the New World Order. And that was written on the Georgia Guidestones, like the plan for like a New World Order is like 10 steps in 10 different languages or something like that, right?
Correct, something like that. If you wanna pull it up, let's look at this. Why not?
Yeah, let's start out with this Georgia Guidestone thing.
Let's go. I'll go on Yahoo because I like the way it shares better the picture. So let me share a new stream. It's a new window. All right, I could just go off of this one. That works. Let's go. Yahoo. Should be fun, bro. Can't believe you hadn't heard about that, but I guess you've been working, huh?
Yep.
Been working.
That's come up on my feeds, but it doesn't. I think they probably try to hide that from me, you know.
Bro, like it was.
They know I'm out here.
That was all I saw today. But I will say on my Instagram, I just follow like other 2 pages or Christian end time people too. So yeah, just put Georgia Guidestones. We'll see. Let's click
now,
some videos.
For those who don't know, the first step in this 10-step process of the New World Order, you know, the Georgia Guidestones, like the first step of that is to reduce human population down to like, I don't know what it was, but it's ridiculously low number compared to what it is now, like a million or like 10,000 or something like that.
500 million. I should be sharing
500 million.
Am I sharing this? Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah,
there's like
million.
Billions of people on the planet. Sounds to me like there's gonna have to be a dramatic reduction in the human population.
Yeah, that's a 95% reduction, pretty much. Something like that. 95%, I want to say. 90%, something like that. Because from 8 billion, that's quite a reduction, bro. From 8 billion to 500 million. So yeah, this was the whole problem with the Georgia Guidestones for most end time Christians. This thing was erected in the 80s, 1980, I want to say. And then it had a real weird vibe to it. There was a Mason inscription at the bottom of it. And it also had a hole, bro, that it was drilled through one of the stones, and it would look into the North Star, which never moves. and it was just like there the whole time. Somebody went there last year and filmed through it, and they kind of read all the inscriptions that were in it. The channel's name is Witsa Gets It. He's it's another truther Christian flat earther guy, and
So do they have any ideas on who blew it up? Saying how badly is it blown up? They use like a C4 or like some grenades.
I'll show you the videos, bro. I don't know. It's hard. It's hard to tell, bro. Like for a while there, I thought God done struck it down with lightning, but I'll let you watch the videos. Hold on. What am I doing here? And maybe we could play the audio. I don't know. Let's see, video. $5 ago. Oh, look, this one actually looks like it's going to show the explosion, so I'll start with that. It's just poof. Poof is gone. No audio in this video. It's at full volume, and it does show a car driving off. 3:43 a.m. No, 4:03 a.m.
That thing is like in the middle of nowhere. How do they have cameras set up?
Yeah, they had cameras set up. It's so weird that they don't show like the person. This is the first time too I've seen the car.
Why is it
so
surrounded by a
show,
fence?
like,
It's like fenced off already. That used to not be fenced off.
I've never been there, but I wanted to go, man. It kind of sucks, but it's all right. Let's see. They actually bulldozed it today too. I saw another video where they were bulldozing it, so it kind of reminds me of 9/11, where they bulldozed it already, whatever was left. So that's weird,
God.
right? Kind of like why they gotta bulldoze it? I don't get it. Like, this ain't YouTube, so I don't know. Kind of leery of playing videos that ain't on YouTube just because I have a hard time loading them.
Well, it's too bad, I guess. It's already out there for the public to see. Everybody's taking pictures and stood next to it. It's like they're like destroying a flea here, you know? It's whatever.
Yeah, it could be that, they might try to blame it on like far right conspiracy theories. That way they can make us all into some type of boogeyman terrorist or something. But am I sharing the video?
No.
My bad, bro. I was playing a video this whole time. New York Post, that one. YouTube, let's see. Maybe this one has it blowing up. This one also doesn't have audio. But yeah, that's what it looked like earlier today. And then towards the end of the day, I saw a video of them just bulldozing it over. So they're getting rid of it. So they probably did it themselves, bro, just so they can blame it on whoever they choose to blame it on. That way they,
Yeah.
make us all back.
Some politician, Democrats, high on cocaine, and he's like, "What? George Guidestones? No, that's crazy. We're going to remove that because we don't want people getting the idea that there's a new world order. I'm part of it." You know?
Yep. Also that. Let me see if this shows up bulldozing. The most mysterious. They called it the American. Let me put Georgia Guidestones bulldoze. So So it's weird that they bulldozed it the same day that somebody else blew it up. Like, why would you do that? It doesn't make sense. Wouldn't you need to like investigate and see, what they use? It's just
Quick
like,
update. So it does look as though the Guidestones have been bulldozed after the explosion. Things have really gotten interesting here. It looks like they're trying to just erase the entire thing. Who knows what they're going to erect after this? What kind of monument? Anyway, I just wanted to do that quick update since I wasn't able to confirm it before, but it has been confirmed that they have bulldozed the Guidestones. Anyway, thank you so much. Bye-bye.
you didn't really have a video, but incredibly, Georgia Geyser's explosion. Man, there's not a lot of results on YouTube. They don't want you looking this up, bro. Like, this is Yahoo, and I'm getting like just 4 videos that's on a search engine that it's ridiculous, bro. All right, well, that's kind of all I had for this. I mean, if I log on Instagram, I saved more videos, but yeah, I'll show them to you later.
What's happening, people? They're gonna establish a new world order. Already in the process. But if you look at, you gotta think of the big picture, thinking like historically, what's really led up to like America and all these different countries with advanced technology that we have. It's like, there are basically 2 major powers that I see involved. Here we go. If you go back to year 162 through 163, you have Marcus Aurelius, who is the last of the 5 good emperors of Rome. So this all starts with Rome. That's how the world is the way that it is today, with these like highways and these skyscraper buildings and stuff. Like, they were even using cranes in Rome that were capable of lifting like some incredible amount of weight, several tons at least. That's how they were able to build that giant stadium that's like half destroyed now, just because of like natural erosion. But everything about Rome, like bringing different cultures together and kind of like a melting pot, and then using all of their different skills and building on that. That's how it actually started, like a little village where all these different people came together. They learned each other's language. They started like putting their knowledge together and building an entire civilization eventually, which then conquered the world. And a lot of these emperors like turn out wicked, and 5 of them were good. This was the last guy, Marcus Aurelius. Rome, though, like, this is how Europe ended up getting all of its money. Like, over in the UK, probably the 2nd financial capital of the world, if not over there in United Arab Emirates. But they used to control the world, the United Kingdom, and that's because Catholicism basically dominated the world for a long time. This all came from Rome, like all of it. I believe like most of the world's wealth today extends back to Rome. And Rome obviously is the seat of the papacy, the papal, the whatever you call it, Papa in his white robe. Yeah, so the Pope, there's more money in the Vatican probably. I mean, it's has the head capital of the world. I can't remember what it's called, but World Food Organization, where they give food to poor people. Like the largest distribution of food to random people, if you will, is located over there in Italy. So there's a lot of money and a lot of power that goes way back, all the way to Rome. In the Bible, So look at it from a biblical perspective. Rome is actually in Bible prophecy because it talks about 5 different kinds of body parts on this image, which each represent a one world government. So you have this giant image statue. I don't have that in my slides, but King Nebuchadnezzar sees a giant image of a statue, and it has like a head of gold, a belly, or a chest and arms of silver, belly and thighs of brass, and legs and feet of iron, and then the toes are actually made of clay. It's like iron and clay. But each of these elements and body parts represent a different one world government. The legs and the feet are actually Rome, and I don't think like any scholars really disagree with that. That's what it is. And then you have those 10 toes, but Rome controlled the original one world government, which was Babylon. So we're looking at that entire area, like over in the Middle East, like includes Palestine, Iraq, Afghanistan, places like that, over the Middle East. That's where the Babylonian Empire was centered. And then Alexander the Great would then come and actually expand that all the way to India. And then Rome would take that over all Europe. Like, they really expanded it. Africa, they went a long ways. They controlled the world. It was a one world government, the most powerful that there's ever been, except for America, which has been created recently, with that in the last 200 years. If you didn't know that our Constitution, I believe, is not even 200 years old yet. Okay. And if it is, just barely over 200, because I'm not good at the details on history, but it's like 1700 something.
1776 was America.
Yeah.
I think.
So it's not very.
Independence Day.
You see how America used the same thinking process as Rome did in building, what we have today. It's the same thing. You could read The Antiquity of Rome. I don't have that book with me, but read on Roman history, the history of Rome, and it will tell you that that's how modern societies are working today. It's based off of those Roman concepts, unless you're in Japan or China. But even those people got out of their isolated space, like after World War II, and they've adopted, modern ways of civilization. It all goes back to Rome. Even the money goes back to Rome.
It's funny you say that, because the eagle, right? Like, you see the Roman soldiers carrying like an eagle, and then the eagle's also like the symbol of America, where it's in our dollar bill. And also, when you look at the presidents talking, they usually have an eagle on the post, the flagpole that's behind them. So yeah, definitely a lot of similarities between Rome and America.
So we were left off with Marcus Aurelius, last of the 5 good emperors of Rome. Kind of go through like a history of Europe. We're going to start with the last of the 5 good emperors of Rome. This guy was a really good guy, did good things for Rome. It became a great nation. It was probably the greatest under his reign that it had ever been, besides Julius Caesar. And then, so we were at 162 and 163 AD. We move forward to 795 AD and 796. And what is happening is Islam is rising in the world dramatically. And so much that there's actually a separation zone in Spain that was made to separate Europe and Islam because they were growing so big. You go to year 842 through 843, the Arabs actually attacked Rome and won the battle. the Muslim conquest of Sicily. You can read about it. The Muslims began to advance toward Ina. The fall of Ina in 859 was a crowning achievement of the early Aghlabids in Sicily since the fall of Palermo. Year 860 AD, you have the Cordoba martyrs. Spain was ruled by Muslims in the 9th century. They imposed their interpretation of the Quran and Sharia law upon their subjects who were mostly Christian. I mean, there was a lot of even Europe that was ruled by Spain after they had taken over the Byzantine Empire, which was that remaining half of the Roman Empire, which fell. It divided. One half, basically collapsed over in Europe. The other half, which was in modern-day Turkey, Byzantine or Constantinople, this was the surviving half of the Roman Empire, which then fell to the Ottoman Empire when Muslims began to take control of the earth. Okay, they were starting to do that. Now go way into 1493. You have the Spanish Inquisition, and these Jews are being subjected to violent attacks. Muslims are being killed as Europe is basically taking back their territory. You can read about the Jews during the time of the Muslim conquest. They were actually doing really well. Jews thrived in a Muslim-ruled country. The Spartan Jews of Muslim Spain, otherwise known as Al-Andalus, experienced a golden age from the second half of the 8th century to the end of the 11th century. It talks about here how the Jews in the Ottoman Empire made a superhuman effort. They created an Eastern Spain in their private national lives. So when Islam does good, so do the Jews for some reason. And we'll get to that. But then Christopher Columbus takes the Spaniards, which he has now moved Islam back to the Middle East. And now Europe is again controlled. Spain is controlled by Europeans. And Christopher Columbus will then take the Spaniards over to America. And I believe that he is responsible for probably the world's largest genocide that has ever occurred on the planet, of the inhabitants, the original inhabitants of North and South America, completely erased basically by this Spaniard monopoly on exploration. And they took with them the Catholic faith, which came from Rome. So do you have anything to say on any of this, Iger?
Not much, bro. Just that, man. I come from like South America, so there's still a lot of Native American people there. But what they did was they really mixed, like the Europeans mixed with the natives there. So they kind of wiped them out, but not all by killing them. I'm sure they killed a lot, but like you go there now and you can see most people are mixed, where we're not fully Native American. We're like mixed with some type of European from the this time period, the 1500s or so, when all the places were getting colonized. So it's very rare to see Native Americans. It's mostly everybody is part Native American. They call them like even most Spanish people today, you can see they're Spanish, but they're not Native American looking. A lot of them, they're like they have some Native American qualities and some European qualities. It's like we're all mixed over there. All right, bro, carry on, bro.
But then you bring up a good point, because if you look at the similarities between North America and South America, they have like differences now, but back in the past, those differences really like didn't exist. You go back before, the Spaniards arrived, they're just like one culture. You can even look at it in archaeology. There's not a huge difference between how we built our pyramids in North America, and there are some that are still standing, I believe. And then the ones over in South America, you look at their artifacts, what they was making, their clothes. It's really a lot of the same thing.
Man,
and
I'm thinking these pyramids are pre-flood, bro. Like I'm thinking like whoever the Native Americans were, they just kind of might have lived on the pyramids, but I don't think they built them. I think those are like pre-flood structures. That's why they're all over the world. Now, that's my belief now, that because there's some pyramids that haven't been fully excavated yet. Like, what buried them. So it's like a lot of these pyramids I now think are pre-flood. Even the pyramids of Giza, they had to be excavated. The Sphinx had to be excavated. So I'm not saying there wasn't pyramids built after the flood, but I think a lot of especially this big, huge pyramids that we can't build today, were built pre-flood, and other people lived on them afterwards, but I don't think they built them. Just to throw you in the loop, bro. Just to throw you in the loop.
Yeah, that's too big of a loop, right? Because there was a global flood that happened. I don't know if they'd be able to survive that.
No, that's what I'm saying. Like the pyramids they all had to be excavated. The pyramids of Giza had to be excavated. Not the newer ones with some
they're
pharaohs,
covered in dirt that recently came there.
Yeah.
That was like recently piled onto the area.
Yeah, and I want to say like only the Great Pyramid of Giza I'm talking about, because like the other pyramids, they were built by pharaohs right afterwards, but the Great Pyramid of Giza, it doesn't have like any inscriptions, it doesn't have a tomb per se, so it's a lot of mystery to that pyramid in particular, as opposed to like all the other pyramids that they built after that, where they had tombs and they were for pharaohs. They have a lot of inscriptions. And like I said, some pyramids in America have not been completely excavated yet. They're still buried. So it's a great mystery. But we could do a stream on pyramids one day. That'll be fun too.
Yeah, definitely.
All right.
Well, if you go to I have a beta seminar called the God's Plan for the Nations, and I describe like some archaeological significance to North America, specifically, like, the oldest 10 Commandments was found in Texas, for instance. And that's a strange place to find the oldest 10 Commandments. That's because those natives, they didn't just come there over a land bridge 10,000 years ago. I mean, they arrived with all the knowledge that they had pretty recently, than the last 4,500 years. That's when they arrived there, and they came from a civilization that was godly, because we all come from Noah, 600-year-old. I don't know, because you can technically call them Christians in the Old Testament, but because Christ did not came, they're kind of looking forward to that. They don't know the name Jesus Christ. Call them, believers. They're followers of God, Noah, and his sons. Maybe not Cain, but mostly. Everybody was good, and that he taught his children, they taught their children. This guy probably knew everything that there is to know about building stuff. I mean, he built a boat that apparently survived a global flood, so he's probably a pretty good engineer.
I'd never heard about the 10 Commandments in Texas, bro. I'm gonna have to look that up real quick. That is weird. But no, I get you, because I actually there was a Christian guy. I think the name of his YouTube channel is Kingdom in Context, who I like listening to once in a while. And he had a debate one time, and he was talking about how like even because he's a Native American, and even in like their religion, they have what they call a 3-in-1 God, which is he was explaining it's the same God as kind of what you're saying, that is the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. And I mean, he didn't go into much detail, but he kind of like just swept through it real quick, and I was like, what? So like he was implying kind of like the same thing, that what you're saying, that which makes sense actually, that after the flood, or it will be after the Tower of Babel, I guess, where people were thrown into the four corners of the earth, that there was some people that were worshiping God even back then at these even though we would consider them now Native Americans, or whatever other thing, that some of them, I'm not saying some of them weren't worshiping the devil too, because that guy's been around forever too, right? Like he's all throughout scripture.
Oh yeah, I mean, look at the Aztecs. They're like,
right. And I'm sure even all the Aztecs probably did not worship the devil. I'm sure like it's like it is today. You know, we got so many Satanists all over the place, and then we got a lot of Christians still. So I would assume like all civilizations probably were something like that. You know what I mean? Where they had people that worship the devil and they had people that worship God. So that's kind of interesting, bro. Topic. All right, carry on with your presentation, bro. We're getting a little distracted, but oldest Ten Commandment in Texas. It's crazy.
Yeah. Look it
I
up.
gotta,
There's many other artifacts that have Hebrew origin. Ancient, the Ten Commandments specifically was written in ancient Hebrew, so it's not even like modern. This is like old stuff. But back to 1492, and go check out the Heart or God's Plan for the Nations in the Beta Seminar playlist, and I have all that material on there in detail. So 1492. Christopher Columbus creates like a Spaniard monopoly on exploration. Okay, it's all this money and resources, and he goes over to the New World. And I believe that he removed most of that world, okay, by murder, by greyhound dogs, and by rifles. Was able to reduce that population down to a very small number. And that's why it appears today that the natives were like primitive people that didn't really understand a lot. They were just hunter-gatherers, you know. If they didn't talk like this, it'd just be a redneck. That's what you'd call them. But the natives were very intelligent people. They knew how to make things out of gold, out of brass. Like, go to a natural, like a native history museum. I think they have like the world's biggest one is over in Washington or something. And look at what they were making. And that's just what's left after everything that they had destroyed. Just the fragments of what they had is phenomenal. So don't tell me the natives were primitive. This was a genocide. Christopher Columbus, I think, is a wicked person. But that's beside the point. Catholicism spread worldwide. So even though Europe has lost world power and Islam, they don't have any now either. So there's nobody in charge of the world anymore. Everybody's kind of doing their own thing, and so we're gonna break off and go to the New World, and we're gonna create our own world. And here you have it, America. Okay, that's what I think happened. I'm gonna give a summary of this stuff now that I just covered. In year 162, you have the last good emperor of Rome, and in 795, the Spanish and Europe, okay, Spain, there's a boundary that is created to separate the Islamic Spains from the rest of Europe because Islam has control over Spain at this time. Now, in 1842, the Islams began expanding in modern-day Italy. They went to war with Rome. They won, okay? They went over the Byzantine Empire, okay, the main capital, and they won there too. So Europe is toast, and they're going to have to retreat back to Rome, and eventually they'll go over to the United Kingdom, but that's kind of here nor there. A wave of 48 Christians are killed in Spain in 859 and 862. Turkish Islams receive a devastating loss to Europe, and then eventually in 1492, Muslims and Jews will exile Spain and flee into Turkey. That's where they are today. So you have Europe, Islam, and then you have America. And I believe these three factors are able to establish a new world order. And they've been planning this a long time. Like, it probably goes way back. What people call like the Illuminati probably goes back farther than a lot of people think. Way back to people like Alexander the Great, who are having these children and they're supposed to carry his legacy, even though he died and his empire divided, which is also in the Bible, that his empire would be scattered to the four winds. The leopard with the four wings, those four wings that represent the nations, that were created basically after Alexander the Great's death. These four people, they took territories in different places. Two of them are in modern day Turkey, and then one of them is like Egypt, and the other one I forget. But two of them in modern day Turkey. I believe that the Antichrist will come from that sort of a lineage that stretches back, probably over in modern day Turkey. Is probably going to come out of that area, or he could come out of a European line, and that's what more like what Iger would hold to, is the Antichrist would. And that makes sense too, because he's coming out of the Grecian Empire. That's what we can cover that in the next part of the final part of the seminar. We'll cover the connection, I guess, going back to Daniel chapter 11, and then you have so just real quickly, there's four beasts in Daniel. The first one is a lion. It represents Babylon. The second is a bear with three ribs in its mouth, and that's like I believe, I can't remember the exact historical event, which makes that relevant. Like the three ribs, there's like three kings of Persia or whatever, and they all fight or something happens, but you can interpret that however you want. The bear represents Persia, though. And then the third animal is a leopard with four wings. And I've already described the interpretation of those four wings. It's exactly how the Bible interprets it itself, you know. And then the fourth represents the New World Order. Some people would say the fourth represents Rome because the legs of iron represents Rome in that standing image. But that's incorrect, I believe, because you're going straight from Alexander the Great, that leopard with four wings, and then the next one is this beast which completely takes over the world, you know. And Rome did that, but they didn't go to the full boundaries of Europe, to the full extent of Asia. You didn't go over to China, to Japan. The New World Order is all nations of all tongues, and that's what that fourth beast is, and that's what the 10 toes of the image. So you have the legs of iron, which is Rome, but then those 10 toes, they're going to be the 10 kings, and the Bible specifically says this. It interprets itself. I don't know if you know that, but it does interpret itself and says that the 10 toes are the 10 kings that are going to create a new world order. So the 10 kings, I believe, because kings don't exist except over in Muslim countries, these would be 10 Muslim kings. And that's if you look at the image, it starts out with gold, okay, and then degrades the farther down you go until you get to the clay, which is at the toes. So even though the weakest, or the less valuable of all of the different elements, is going to be the clay, it's still going to be the part of that image which establishes a new world order. So if you just take the 10 toes and then you correlate that with the fourth beast of Daniel, you could see a clear there's like a symmetry there between the two, because you're talking about the same thing. You're talking about a new world order being created from 10 kings, something that cannot be stopped. So if you think of it, Alexander the Great, Greece falls, divides, and then certain military bases are established, and certain kings are going to continue to preserve their bloodline. And I believe that will lead up to the Antichrist, either from the European genealogy or the Islam genealogy. One of the two. There's a good evidence for both sides. But even if you were able to figure out if it's an Islamic or a European Antichrist, you still have to think about who's the false prophet. and that could also be an Islamic or European. What I've suggested is that the Antichrist is the military leader. You know, he would actually come from an Islamic uh, or
Back
Jewish, perhaps. He
Who's
would
the
come from
who's
a
the head of the
Jewish.
World Health Organization now, bro? It's like you know a gentleman with glasses, dark skin. So I don't know. Maybe let me look that up real quick.
Oh yeah, I don't know who the leader is. The Health Organization.
The United Nations. I'm sorry.
Oh yeah, I don't know. Yeah, he could be coming from there. He could be coming from like the Islam kings, but if he comes from Islam, then or a Jewish genealogy, which could be within the Islamic, because again, Jews were thriving when Spain was thriving. They both kind of, I mean, you could see it happening. If there's going to be peace in the Middle East between all the Islams, you're going to have peace with the Jews. That's what's going to happen, but there isn't peace. There hasn't been peace for a long time. I think that this will eventually happen, and the Antichrist will arise from that. He will be the one responsible for creating peace in the Middle East. It makes sense if he has some kind of a Jewish genealogy, and then, you know, the money and the politics, all of that is going to be controlled by the papacy, by the Pope, like Catholicism.
His name is Abdullah Shahid, bro, the president of the United Nations. But if it was Barack Obama, bro, I'm like, all right, this is a done deal. Sealed.
Yeah, it could be.
I'm just messing with you, bro. I wonder where this guy's from, though. Abdullah Shahid. He has a very Muslim name.
Well, that concludes that part of the seminar. This is part 4, and then we'll get into more next week. But so why would you think that the Antichrist would come from Europe rather than Islam? What kind of connections do you see, like in the Bible, other than? I mean, I think I made a pretty strong case for it myself, but just because the details don't match, I'm not saying the Antichrist is going to come from Europe.
The only thing for me is I don't hold to like the 10 kings necessarily have to be kings. You know, they could be president. You know what I mean? That's my only thing. Like, because and then like we were talking that other night, how the United Nations has 10 revolving seats and then 3 permanent seats. So it could be that the second beast is the United Nations. Hello, Jamie Russell. Nice to see you, man.
Did you see me blinking?
No.
My avatar, was it blinking?
Nah, your avatar looks like a monkey with a globe stuck to it. Oh, now it's blinking. Yep.
Yeah, it's blinking.
Yeah, I just took 3 pictures and so it's 3 different ones, and when you open it, you can click between them. It's my little poor man's animation. How are you guys
Pretty
doing?
cool, bro. Pretty good.
It's all right. Hey, sorry for calling you out, bro. I was just
Hey, who do you
warning
think
Kevin.
the Antichrist is gonna be, Jamie Russell? We should play that game that we did that first time, bro, where we went to we started listing like 10 characters. That was pretty fun, actually.
Wait, what was that? What was it again?
Who do you like the first time me and Chris did this end time discussions? We had like a little game where we were just kind of naming people, like, you know, Bill Gates and Prince Harry. So
yeah.
like, who do you think the Antichrist is gonna be? Donald Trump, Barack Obama?
I think that's all mistakes. I think the key thing to remember is that what are the things we can gather about the Antichrist? I would say he seeks to change times and laws. He calls himself God, in a sense, right? He says his number is 666. But the biggest argument would be from Okay, so he's a religious figure because he comes from the Whore of Babylon, which I think is like an overarching theme about just like false religious systems from history, because it stems from Babylon. If you look at Daniel, right? Um, Even from the Tower of Babel, you could appeal to that as well. But I think Babylon, all that stuff. But I don't think you should focus too much on the Nimrod thing. Although there is imagery from the Nimrod story about the head wound and stuff. But I think that's not very valuable. I think you should look in Daniel, and so you see pictures of it, right, with the golden statue, and it's kind of a little miniature picture of what I would think is the mark of the beast, where Daniel, like, he prayed when he wasn't supposed to, right, and with his windows open, and then they threw him in the lion's den. And then also the statue, if you look at the story, was six something tall and 60 something else, so it has a 6'6" calibration to it, which is interesting. So it's Satan. It's clearly Satan, like, behind him, like the culmination of Satan behind the empires of the world, because that's the picture you see in the prophets about the Antichrist. He's called the King of the North. He's called the little horn of Daniel, and he comes out of Rome, rises up. And if you see that little horn empire as in a historical sense, and you consider the statue, I argue that that is a full succession of history from Babylon till the end of time. There's no real break in it. So the little horn is the King of the North, and then we see that imagery from Daniel 7 right into Revelation 13, and it continues on where Daniel leaves off in the Roman Empire. And it's clear that the little horn rises out of Rome, and the things mentioned in Daniel and Revelation, like the city on seven hills, it matches. It doesn't have to be that necessarily, but I think that clearly is. People get confused with other verses, like insisting it's because Jerusalem's called, Edom and Egypt or whatever. But it's not because that is the city of the Antichrist. That's because Edom and Egypt is what God uses as terms to call the world, and it's supposed to make you think back to those stories in the Old Testament to get the information to identify that. So Jerusalem's just called that because she's being bad. It doesn't mean that is the city. It means she's acting like that type of it's hard to explain, but what I'm saying is people use that verse when it's Jerusalem called that, and they think that means it's identifying the city, but it's just calling her that because those are names God has that are supposed to make you think of the whoring, quote unquote, that they're doing against God. It's not naming that city. It's Rome, because it comes out of Rome from Daniel. So it has to be out of Rome. So, but you then could argue that it's the 10 toes and the countries out of the European growth out of that. I don't think that's necessarily wrong, but it's still that the power, the horn of which is identified as like the King of the North, etc. In Daniel is the seat or the empire. So I would argue that you see imagery in Revelation also or in Daniel as well, that shows that pagan Rome turning into papal Rome, and that is the Antichrist. It's the guy. It's that transfer.
I think like the Vatican is like the dragon. You know how there's the first beast gives the power to the second beast. So I would say like the Vatican is the dragon that gives his power to the second beast, which is going to be like the United Nations or the World Health Organization, or even you heard of the World Economic Forum, bro? This guy Klaus Schwab talking about by the year 2030 you'll own nothing and you'll be happy. Like he's got a lot of I don't know. To me, he kind of fits like the little horn scenario. Like he just came out of nowhere, bro. I never heard of him before. And he's
here's the problem with that. There's a problem with that. There's a problem with that because you got to understand the spiritual context of the identification, I think, because the identification is a spiritual. She's a whore. The bride is a woman, and she's the mother of harlots. So she has to be a religious empire in a sense, and I think that's where like they get people with the Islamic connection is interesting too. There seems to be a connection there, but especially with the colors and what we see in Islam. But like I would say that's ultimately a distraction as well, because no Islamic leader is going to call themselves God on earth. Only a pope can do that, and it's clear that is the case historically, and it continues to. If it's true that the Pope has historically been the Antichrist identified in Rome, and you agree with the Protestant reformers as I do, then it seems to me when it talks about the first beast giving power to the second beast, you can identify that in Revelation 12 when I think it's 12, maybe 13, where it says the lamb that speaks like a dragon hands power over to the first beast or whatever, and then that first beast, the head wound is being healed is like, it's complicated, but I think that's suggestive that it's the same power that it was before that lost its power, and that's a papal Rome.
I'm with you on that. Like I kind of think like that beast that hit the wound that, it's like the Roman Empire fell, but then it rebuilt itself as the papacy, right? So I kind of agree with that it is.
Well, yeah, it was the papacy, and then it lost in 1798. It lost when Napoleon sacked it, and that was 1260 years after France fell. The last empire that was opposing the papal Roman Empire fell in 538. So 1260 years later, exactly, Napoleon marched into the Vatican and dethroned the Pope, put him in the dungeon, and he died. And ever since then the Protestant Reformation essentially started, and Rome never had her power back. But she's still working behind the scenes in a lot of ways, right? And has influence with every nation in the world. She has influence with
every
for
nation.
Various reasons.
Yeah, and every single president of the United States goes over there to pay his homage to the Pope. Trump, Biden, it doesn't matter. They all go, bro. They all been there. And it's not just America. It's like you're saying, the whole world goes over there and pays his homage to the Pope.
And they're trying to unite all these other religions together under the Pope. It's really interesting.
So
like imagine a huge disaster falls upon the earth, like a meteor hits the earth or something, and there's just major where everybody's in big trouble, and they have to have a world alliance. Who would be the candidate to have at least a temporary, in some sense, some sort
of?
It
would be the United Nations right now, bro.
It would be the Pope,
literally,
bro.
It just happened. Like with the whole pandemic. Who got all the power? Who just deleted my YouTube channel? The mail literally goes against the World Health Organization. They literally have all the power right now.
Sure, but how is that? How would they claim to be God, and what law would they change that would cause people to be damned?
Shoot, I mean, I don't know how you feel about these injections, but if they're making it mandatory for a lot of people, then it's kind of like a religious thing, where you got to bow to the statue, the statue or bow to the big pharma medical complex, and you can't disagree with them, or if not, you just get silenced. And that's for now, we're getting silenced, but in the future, who knows, bro? Those that burn.
But why would that damn
those
you?
That burn books today? Why would it damn you?
Well, this is a hard question for any system. I think I'm curious what Chris would say about this too, because I've been thinking about this. I think the deception is a spiritual one, but if most people, and even I think too, that if you're saved, you're not going to take the mark of the beast. But at the same time, it's what's the point? The lost world is already lost, but the saved world is saved. And so it's who is the deception supposed to fool? The lost people were already lost, and the saved people are saved, right? Or whatever. It's kind of what's the point? And why would God damn people if it was just a civil law? I think it will be a civil law, but I think the civil law will merge with a religious system. But I'm a crazy Seventh-day Adventist, I guess. But I'm just curious how you guys think about that. I mean, no matter what, it's strange to think, especially if it's you're desperate and they won't let you eat or buy food or something. Why would God damn somebody for that? It seems difficult to explain.
Not difficult. You got evangelists. That's why.
Yeah. Do explain. I'm curious what you think.
Well, the Bible says that when this tribulation period begins, he's sending his two witnesses to do great marvels, wonders, and signs, which everybody's going to be able to see. It says that when they die, everybody in the world is going to see them lay in the streets. So all eyes are going to be on these two witnesses, and also the Antichrist and the false prophet, and there's going to be a major war taking place in between Christians and non-Christians. And it's going to be a pretty clear line in the sand at that point.
Can I share something? Peter Lee Jum in the chat, and he's been telling me this for a couple times already. He wants me to look up the Global Pandemic Treaty, if I could look that up and share it real quick. All right, Peter, this was for you, bro. Global Pandemic Treaty. Hopefully it doesn't get us deleted. What is the Global Pandemic Treaty? That's a good question. Let's just give an overview real quick. The International Treaty on Pandemic Prevention, Preparedness, and Response, or Pandemic Treaty, is a proposed international agreement to strengthen pandemic prevention, preparedness, and response. The 194 World Health Organization member states agreed in December 2021 to begin negotiations on a global pandemic treaty, aiming for a draft agreement to be finalized by 2024 for consideration by the 77th World Health Assembly. I don't know. I didn't get much from that. Alarm sounded over whose global pandemic treaty. Subsequently, the idea of a global pandemic treaty was born. Some illustrated the need for enhanced preparedness and closer cooperation at global level, improve collaboration. But I feel like the gist of this is that somehow when we go into these emergency scenarios, that they kind of get all the power, the global pandemic people. Let me see. The World Health Organization gets all this power to basically, enforce mandates and whatnot, unelected officials. Global Pandemic Convention. Yeah, we got all our usual actors. All right. Peter, if you want me to find something more specific, let me know, man. Put a link on the chat. If you, I don't know if you have a wrench or not, but.
So, Chris, do you
He
think?
doesn't have the wrench, bro.
I forget if you thought the whole 7 years is future or the 3.5. I can't remember what you said. If you were,
It's 3.5 approximately. That's going to be shortened, but yeah, the latter 3.5 years is going to be the tribulation.
And so, is that? Do you think that time period's mentioned anywhere else? Is that the 1260, or is that? I know it's in Revelation 10 and 11 or something, right?
Yeah, that's 1260, and then there's 42 months, and then time and a half a time.
Do you think the 42 months is describing the same thing as the 1260, or are they two separate things?
No, I think they're the same thing.
Okay, so which ones do you think overlap? Because I think they mention all like different renderings of like 3.5 days, 1260 days, 3.5 years, 42 months, and then times and half a time. So there's 6 things that it sounds like. So I think all of them are mentioned, I believe, in 10 and 11. Is that right?
Yeah, I believe they're all referring to the same thing. It's just because the Bible's trying to make it clear what it's talking about.
So maybe Revelation 12 too, right, with the woman in the wilderness, or is that in 11?
Yeah, definitely. That's in there too.
So what do you make of the interpretation of Revelation 12 that says this is more of an overarching symbolic story of like stretching through history? Like it seems to describe the angels falling, then it seems to describe Mary giving birth to Jesus, and because it says she's about to give birth, and the dragon's poised to eat the child. That to me sounds a lot like Herod trying to kill the baby Jesus. And then it describes the one she gives birth to as a man child with a rod of iron, which sounds like it's saying the baby Jesus who becomes a man and brings a covenant, and then he's taken up into heaven. And that sounds like his ascension to me. What do you say to that? You see that going on there too, or?
Yeah, I see all of that happening in that story. Yeah.
That's like my favorite chapter in the Bible. Like it's such an amazing chapter, the Revelation 12. It's like,
it's pretty heavy, yeah, because there's so much symbolism, and it's all pretty clear from the Bible what it all means. So it's just a matter of looking at all of it and putting it together. And it's fascinating because in there it actually says that he would send a flood after the woman, and it's like maybe the woman represents the world, and Satan's gonna like literally try to flood the world with water again. And then you have it failing. It's obviously going to fail. But
I kind of see
I think that's a good theory.
I see the Reformation in there too, because it seemed that part's after the child ascends and the church is formed, and like you could think of the woman as like, if you think of the woman, which I would say is like, someone has asked me like, is that Mary? And I say, yeah, it's Mary. She's the Virgin Mother. That's Virgo or whatever. I think it's more than just looking into the sky. He's having a vision, but it's based off of that because it's clearly astronomical to some degree. But I still consider it a vision, obviously. But I think you can actually pinpoint that set of circumstances in the stars to an exact day, which is the day Jesus was born, I believe. But it can mean more than that too. I would say it can mean they actually can do it with astronomy software. There's an 80-minute window on September 11, 3 BC, which is a candidate for Jesus' birthday, by the way. But and it aligns with the Star of Bethlehem.
Hey, can
Sorry,
you
what's
expand
that?
on that? Can you expand on the because last Wednesday I told Christopher that I believed in that the whole Jesus' birthday was September 11, 3 BC, and now you just kind of repeated it. So I wanted to see, can you expand on that? Like how'd you like?
Well, yeah. First, I'll say
it can, the Bible software. Like I'm not the Bible software.
Yeah, I don't have the
astronomy
software. I plan on doing that, and I found this really great video that goes through it really well in a presentation, better than any of the ones Michael Heiser's done based off of a guy's book. Now, people dispute it, but I haven't seen any good evidence of disputing any problems with this. And I've seen many different versions of the software showing that the exact sign, every detail of it. Some of the details are not that, rare, but to have the sun passing through her stomach and have the moon at her feet and the particular, because some of them are just stars that are always above Virgo's head. But when you see where it was during that first century, the Virgo over Judea, because you can go to that, the software is that good. You can go literally and see what it looked like from Judea and what it looked like coming from the east, like the Magi, and like there's like a Jupiter and Saturn or something like are on top of each other, and as they go over Regulus, which is like considered the king's star, and Jupiter's the king's planet, and there's like a conjunction over the king star for 2 years before the sign comes, because that's or 2 years after from that date for 2 years, which makes it possible for the Magi to find where he was 2 years later. So the Star of Bethlehem thing makes sense with the ideas that are kind of like all around going on in the cultures, to understand that as being that kind of sign. And they've obviously been corrupted, but not totally. They probably had stuff from Daniel. People speculate, because Daniel was over there. And so they could have had his writings or something. That's a speculation. But in other words, there's that matches perfectly. It matches with, and so the only problem there really was from the biblical data on this matter was that the majority of scholarship said that they thought they had dated Herod's death to 4 BC, and that would make it that impossible because Herod is supposed to have ordered 2 years and younger children to be killed. But there's some information that people have found now. The majority is shifting or has shifted by now to actually thinking it was 2 BC. And the last video, I'm still trying to find it. I'll send it to you. But they took Josephus's writing regarding his timeline of kings, and they realized he speaks of this is one of the major points that overturned that idea. Something that they used to think necessitated it to be 4 BC that Herod died fell apart, and then they found this thing in Josephus's writings that there was a particular solar or lunar eclipse, and it fits perfectly with what's said about Herod while he was still alive, and that fits perfectly to put him dying in somewhere in 2 BC after Jesus would have been born or something like that, or whatever. It makes it work or whatever. But the major thing is that when you align the stars and you get the moon under her feet just right and the sun going right through her belly, and it also, like, by the way, when Jupiter does retrograde motion, it actually ends up as you're approaching this sign of Revelation 12. That was another thing. Leo's right by Virgo, Leo, the Lion of Judah kind of thing. And it goes in, the lion's sitting there kind of like like on the kind of sitting down. And the Regulus does retrograde motion where it stops and then moves, and then that's what it looks like from Earth. And it stops and then goes backwards, and it like goes into the right where the heart is on the lion. Came out, goes back in, comes out, and then does the thing for the Star of Bethlehem. So it's rather convincing. But there's only an 80-minute window where all that stuff works, and it's September 11, 3 BC. And by the way, that makes there's a verse that says Jesus was about 30 years old. That makes Jesus exactly 30 at his baptism, which is right on track with the 15th year of Tiberius. which they say is technically he didn't fully sit on the throne until 13, or 14, the year 14, I think, which would put it 2 years too late. But then it's actually the fact that Tiberius was adopted by his father, that was the king or whatever, but he became co-regent ruler 2 years before his father died, and so he was in that one of the provinces he would have ruled officially from is Judea, which is where Luke would have written that, and that's where that statement is in the 15th year of his reign. So he did start ruling 2 years earlier as a co-regent, so that makes that work. And then you can, the other thing that lines perfectly, because some people will usually have to say, well, it says Jesus was about 30, and it's too bad he wasn't 31 or something, right? Because then you'd say, well, it's definitely within 6 months before or after his, being 31. But some people will say, well, it's saying about 30, so they'll like go up, speculate that you can have this range of up to like 35 or something, right? Because then they would have said 35, but maybe they would have said it that way. But I think it's more succinct if it says he was about 30 and they knew within a year, like 6 months either way, right? They leave that. I think that's a better option to consider. And this works perfectly. And that works perfectly with Daniel's 70 weeks. It aligns with that, and it makes his baptism in 27 AD.
You can share my screen again, Chris?
Sorry, I'll stop there. Sorry, Chris.
No, I'll just go. I was actually, I found this image of what you were talking about just now. And it's kind of like what you're saying. The sun is at her stomach. You got Venus here, Mercury. This is September 11th, 3 BC. Feast of Trumpets, the woman clothed with the sun. Note that Leo asterism can be drawn to show more of the stars within the Leo constellation than usually depicted, as shown here. Also, not many stars around Virgo's head were enhanced, for they appear to.
Yeah, that's the first. That's the first day of the
the software.
That's the Feast of Trumpets.
What else we got? Virgo.
Think about that.
Yeah, it's crazy. And then also these people talking about 2030 by the, you got Agenda 2030 from the United Nations. You got the World Health Economic Guy talking about by the year 2030, you'll own nothing and you'll be happy. So it seems to be, and if in 2030, that'll be exactly 2,000 years after Jesus died. I mean, well, not died, but if he died at 33, I'm not sure exactly when he died, but
31,
yeah.
30 and 31, I think, are the only possible candidates. Although 33 is maybe the most popular scholarly date at this point, but it doesn't align with what I was saying as well. All the different data that you have to align. You have to say 30. It means he was within 3 years of 30 years old, which you can do. 30 is a round number, so you could speculate that it was just not a very accurate statement, But if it had been 31 or something and it said that, then you'd probably only want to stay within a year. But I argue that you want to be within a year of 30 when they say he's about 30 and he gets baptized. So that would be hard. You couldn't have the September 11 birthday and then have a 33, in my opinion, a 33 AD crucifixion.
Considering that 9/11 was like an Islamic terrorist attack, although it was an inside job, we know that it did come from Islam. The significance of that and it being connected to Jesus' birthday, if that's true.
It's actually connected more, Chris. That's true because it's the same date as his birthday, but get this. Jesus' birth year is not on a Shemitah year or a sabbatical year, which, 7 years is a sabbatical, which is why Daniel's in those terms, I think. 49 years, it'd be a Jubilee, which is based off the 7-year cycle of the sabbatical years or Shemitah years. Guess what? If Jesus starts his ministry in 27 AD, that's the first year of the last 7 of Daniel's 490 years. And guess what else? If you count sets of 7 years from in line with the 7 years, in the 490 years, because those are 7s, it lands on September 11, 2001.
Yeah, I don't think it was done by the Islamic people at all now. I think it was done by the
trippy
and New World Order.
It's literally a Shemitah year. It's a Shemitah year.
Okay, but that's denying the I don't understand that. Because Islam Islam is an active force in the world right now. And they have been even before 9/11. They were in the desert fighting.
What do you think that messes up, though? I think that's still true. I'm
No,
just
I was
saying.
talking more to Iger.
Oh, okay.
I'm interested in researching what you're putting forth here. I like what I'm seeing.
Yeah. There's so, dude. I've been studying this for like a year now or more. I mean, off and on before that, but more intensely now. And it's like I think you can take Daniel. Well, I just did a video, and I know like people don't want to hear it or whatever, but like it aligns with the Shemitah years, which also align with the 7-year cycle of like the previous 70 years in Babylon or whatever. And that if it's 457 to your starting date of the decree, and like, and it aligns perfectly. Like, obviously, I think it makes sense as long as you understand that Jesus put an end to the sacrifice and that he brought the new covenant in Daniel's 9:27. I don't think it's unplausible to think that would be a pattern for the future as well. But I just get upset when people try to argue that like that's not talking about Jesus bringing the new covenant. That seems so problematic. But I think your view can withstand that. So
Yeah, I kind of have like a mix. I mean, I could see this happening definitely, and then yeah, I don't have a problem with that. Like looking at anything that's in Bible prophecy to have already been fulfilled in some way, shape, or form. It's there, the evidence. If it wasn't there, it wouldn't be a historical document. Like making prophecies and coming true. You have the book of Daniel, which is even like in the Dead Sea Scrolls, and it predicts the rise and fall of at least 4 world governments. It's insane.
And it's leading up to Jesus. And so like think about it. So many people take parts of that and cast it into the future, saying it's not yet fulfilled. Well, the problem with that is, I don't think this is your view, by the way. But if someone takes the whole 7 years into the future, that's so problematic because there's no context to talk about the Antichrist. And think about they were looking for Jesus Messiah to come right when before they knew who he was. They thought John the Baptist was the Messiah. They were expecting the Messiah. Well, the only prophecy they could be expecting Jesus as the Messiah from is Daniel 9. And if any of that was future, that makes no sense because it's always got to make sense to the people who receive the text. And if it was, Daniel was to 600 BC, that would be a lie essentially, because they would have no context for it, the people at that time. And so that's just totally bogus of an interpretation I got to say. To cast that into the future and say it's not about Christ. I mean, they're looking for the Messiah from Genesis, the seed of the woman, to redeem them. We don't know how much they knew necessarily, but we know they had the prophets, and all the prophecies that were messianic are intricately associated with Daniel, which is the only one that tells you when the Messiah would come and bring the new covenant, which was promised to them, and so it has to be. Is what I find with people is that they don't like it because they think when I show them this that they jump ahead in their mind to go, well, there's got to be the 70th week, and so they don't listen. And like I'm trying to explain, like, look, there's certain things you may have to give up about if you accept this, but look, let's stay right here for a second. Like there's reasons why this has to be what I'm saying. It's so hard to I'll listen to other views and take them in and consider them. I just think there's so much that works for this view. I'm really convinced. I want to hear objections, but it's so frustrating because people just won't receive, the certain thing. I try not to say I really speak for it, but just say the key things. But there's so much to be said.
So, do you go to a Seventh Day Adventist church? I used to go to one myself.
I haven't been, but I essentially have. I don't. Let's put it this way: I don't refer to Ellen White, and I'm torn on how I like to describe this to people because people have all these ideas in their head. Like, if Ellen White's a false prophet, it doesn't matter. I'm still going to have the same views I have because they're based off of the Bible, and she didn't actually make up any views. But yeah, I'm a Seventh Day Adventist, but no, I haven't been attending in a Seventh Day Adventist church for over a year.
Yeah, I used to go to one, and then it's just, I don't know, they keep handing me too many books, and it was really taking up my time, because I got like a full-time job and stuff, and so I try to read the Bible as often as I can. I felt like they were more focused on the literature. That's even what you do when you go canvassing for SDA churches is you hand out literature. You don't even give the gospel to people. You just like hand them books, and I just didn't like
Yeah,
that.
I think that's problematic. Some churches are that way, more that way. Some churches won't even read Ellen White in the church. So people misuse Ellen White's writings. So I would say that, at least. Like, I would say people definitely misuse it, including, I mean, I have criticisms for them, but the official position is that Ellen White is not equal to scripture, and the canon is closed. So her writings are not supposed to be scripture. Some people do use them that way, but they're not supposed to, and they don't teach that. So it's kind of but I don't want to like sugarcoat it either.
Yeah. What do you have, Iger?
This guy, he's the Klaus Schwab. He's the head of the World Economic Forum. And then, you got him looking up dressed like this and talking about the one world religion, bro. Like, because, for me, I've been kind of waiting for the. Yeah, right. So I've been waiting for like the Antichrist with the one world government, one world currency, and then one world religion, right? So I knew the Antichrist was building that. And then you got the one world currency where you got basically the Visa, MasterCard, the credit cards, and now we got cryptocurrency where you can go anywhere in the world with your Visa, MasterCard and use it. Anywhere that's been in the war, especially recently, Civil War, where they destabilize the country, and then the banks go in there, the world the World Bank goes in there and establishes a bank, then they control all the money. So I could see the one world government with the United Nations, with that I could see the one world currency coming to play, but I couldn't see the one world religion, right? Until I fell into this whole Big Bang's a lie, evolution's a lie. So they're really religious because we accept them on faith. And now where you wear a mask and you're safe, or if you get whatever shot, you're safe from whatever. It's all, they call it scientism. Basically, it's like the one world religion where you just put all your faith in scientists. And this is the first time I noticed this. I was just zooming into this guy, and I mean, if he doesn't look crazy already, just dressed up with his whatever this sun thing is, I don't know what that is. He looks like he's
got
in
nine
Star Wars.
nine arms.
Yeah, if you know what that logo is, I have no idea, but it looks occultist anyways, or some type of new agey. Also, I heard his father was a Nazi, so there's a big occult connection with the Nazis. And then whatever this symbol is here too, that's creepy. It's like
a cross on the head of the.
Well, I mean, it's like the coexistence of all religions. They're gonna dress weird. That's what strange religions do. They put on
whatever
strange apparel, like the Bible says.
I can't read this. I think it's in Latin, but
I think they chose 9 because there's no connection with anything else except for that they're keeping 9 of the 10 commandments. No, I'm just kidding. No, the cross on the head of the bull is probably trying to like say, I don't know, that the cross rules the head of the ox or something. Who knows?
All right. Man, that was all I have for you. There's one more thing while we're on.
What does that mean though? What's scientist in gentum, blah 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 mean?
I don't know.
Can you
but
zoom
if
in
you're
on
talking
it?
about
I'll look it up.
I'll put it. What do you want me to do? Put the link on the private chat?
If you just zoom in real quick, I'll read it. And then
all right. I couldn't even read it, bro. I'm surprised you were able to read that. Like I tried to read it, but
can you zoom in more?
Yeah, I'll go back to 400.
I'll try to find it. Let's see. Scientia Ingenium Virtus. Okay. Scientia.
But yeah, I think because a lot of people used to say like, "Oh, there's no way we're all going to unite under one world religion," and then when I woke up to evolution being a lie, I'm like, "Crap, we already are all believing in the one world religion, evolution, Big Bang, listening to the World Health Organization and these other big crazy corporations that are ran by unelected."
I forgot the last word already. What was the last word? Ingenium Virtus.
Virtus sounds like truth. The first one sounds like science, ingenuity, truth. I don't know, bro. You tell me.
Oh yeah, totally.
look it up, bro. And then I was gonna show you one more thing on this guy because right when this all broke out, they already had like like a map of how they were gonna structure everything, and it came from here from the World Economic Forum, and it really does have everything like technology, World Economic Forum map. So that's why to me this is a candidate for the little horn. Yeah, if you look at
It
these
means
maps,
it means knowledge, ability, and strength.
all right, sounds pretty virtuous, bro. But that guy's creepy looking.
Which one do you not like? Knowledge, ability, or strength?
I don't like the way he's dressed, and I don't like that he's telling us that by the year 2030 we're all gonna be we will own nothing and be happy.
Bro,
That's what
bow
I don't
to
like
it.
about him.
Bow. It's not, dude. You can't deny knowledge, ability, and strength. Therefore, you worship the
That's
beast.
what I don't like about him. And then how they had all this figured out, how the economy and this ain't you can actually click on all these different links and it'll open up different things to the map, or you got to sign up to their website. And but this map that they already had right when this all broke out is real intricate as to how the nations are gonna play out, how the response is gonna be. So you know, he's another one of my candidates for the Antichrist. I got him. I got Bill Gates. We got I'm not sure who the Antichrist is gonna be, but man, these people, it's like they're in competition to see. You know, like people watch American Idol. It's like they're all running to see who gets possessed by the devil. All these globalists or whatever you want to call them. But yeah, man, they had like so much already planned out right when this all broke out, and just they came out of nowhere. I never heard of them before till you know, this all broke out, and they already had like a strategy on how to fix everything. So I just wanted to point that out, bro. And the guy's dad's a Nazi, so I don't know. I don't trust him. Well, I don't trust a lot of these people. It's big.
Want to see something cool? I bet you don't know about.
Yeah, go for it.
I'm sharing.
Oh,
it.
I told Chris something cool earlier. So you probably heard about it.
What was it? What?
The Georgia Guidestones, bro. Somebody blew them up this morning.
No way. No way. That's awesome. For the
Yeah,
is it real?
Can I show you the video?
Sure.
Yeah, all right. Hold on. I'm gonna go on my Instagram page because I definitely have more videos because that's all I was showing on my Instagram feed today, bro. It was all about how the Georgia Guidestones blew up, and then on this page, the Iger Television, I only follow like truth and end time Christian people. So this is all I've been watching all day, bro.
I don't get your live streams for some reason. I'm subscribed to your channel. I thought.
Oh, I got deleted, bro. I got deleted 2 weeks ago.
Oh, that's why. That's
I got
why. What's
deleted
your
2
new
weeks
channel?
ago. It's just this one, Iger TV. But I don't
have you
any,
been?
I haven't been doing any.
Oh, you're
I
watching.
haven't been doing any live streams. I've just been putting them.
Really? Are you going to start another channel?
Yeah, I think I'm.
I can show you. I can show you this
from
first really
Iger.
quick. Mm-hmm. Sorry about that.
Oh yeah, go for it. I just pulled up video, but go for it.
You gotta get that Iger TV up on TikTok. I'm telling you.
Yeah, bro. Right. Oh, I was going to tell you guys. So, like, I've only got like 200 or 200 and like I forget 208 or something subscribers. But like, it recently jumped up kind of quick. Like I was really, it was like one every week. It seemed like one person, but you know, I did on July 3rd, I did a short through YouTube on my phone, you know, and I've done them before, but like, if you make sure you like, before I didn't put descriptions in them, and like, that seems to make a big difference if you put in a description. I don't really get how it works, but like, I did one on, because I had a storm here and I just took a 15-second clip of the storm and I just called it Storm. And then I put a clip like saying subscribe to my channel in the description. But like I got like 1,500 views or something the first day. And then the next day on the 4th of July the storm was even worse. And I caught like a really loud thunder crack or whatever. And then just said Storm 2 or whatever, same thing. And I got like I think there's like, so I've got like 6,000 views just from those 2 videos, like in the last 3 days. And so like
On
my
YouTube.
traffic jumped way up. Yeah, because of those shorts I did. So if you do shorts, I think it might help get you like up in the.
Chris be getting crazy views on his shorts, bro. And
Okay,
yeah,
so
man.
you know, like, how many have you gotten?
I don't know. I'll let Chris talk, but like one time I looked at one of his videos, he had like, I don't know, 5,000 views or something like that. Like,
Oh yeah, that's how I found you, man. I think I think I saw one of your shorts. It was funny because there's this one funny video right next to yours, and it was like this guy doing. I don't think it was your video, but it was like a guy had like a gun. He like kicks it out of the guy's hand and catches it in his butt, and then like shoots the guy with it. It's funny. Like not
No,
in
that doesn't sound familiar. That didn't come from my channel.
yeah. Not in
Yeah.
like a necessarily
I
perverse way.
will
Just
say
like,
when I got to 1,000 subs, bro, on Iger Television, it was like once you hit 1,000 subs, bro, you start picking up subscribers like crazy because it was like, I don't know, it's like 50 subscribers every month and not doing anything different. It's just
Yeah, I
it's
got-
like the momentum, I guess.
somehow I got like 60
Now I'm-
subscribers like in the last 2 weeks of June. I don't know how.
Mhm.
Now it's
Well,
slowing
I don't know,
down.
bro.
The last 4 days.
Keep
I've
doing
only
what
got
you're
On my last channel, I had like I don't know. I remember getting to 100, and then it was like within a month, I was like at 1,000, and then
Dang.
it like
What?
stopped. I stopped getting subscribers like for a long time until they actually eventually deleted me. That happened recently.
How long did
Yeah,
that
yeah.
take?
Yep.
My channel's been on forever, but I didn't start trying to get subscribers till like not too long ago. But what do you guys think is the best way to get subscribers? I mean, how many subscribers did you have, Iger?
Iger Television, I got to 1,350 or something like that, and then I got deleted. And it took me
How
2
fast-
years.
Oh, okay.
What's your
It
backup
was
channel
slow,
at
bro. It was
right now?
slow. This one was at 200.
Yeah, it
This
should
was at
grow
200.
then substantially.
You got 200 just since you started a new one?
No, but this one I started, because I got deleted in 2020, bro. Flatter. Back
Oh.
then they were
Seems
real
like I
big on
remember. See, I've been
Flatter, so
subscribed since then.
I got deleted in 2020, and then I started Iger Television again, and then I got to 1,300 subscribers in 2 years. And I started this Iger TV as a backup channel, but I only put like short videos because it's not verified. And it got to 100 subscribers, and now I don't know, bro. I don't know. I don't think I'm gonna verify this channel. I think I'm gonna come up with a brand new channel, something.
What does that
different.
mean? That's when you get the check
I-
mark next to your name. What does that do for you? It just keeps you protected?
Well, you got to put your phone number in it, and then you could do live streams. Like right now, I can't post videos longer than 15 minutes. I can't do live streams. I can't do like I can't pick a thumbnail. It has to be, you know how you get 3 basic thumbnails when you upload a video. It has to be one of those. So and then you can't do live streams, bro, which to me was kind of fun. I didn't even care about live streams when I first started on YouTube. But then I don't know, like towards the end, it's kind of fun just when you're bored, do your own live streams.
I don't know though. I got
So,
like only 40 or something subs. I can do all that. I can live stream as long as
Yeah.
you use like StreamYard.
No,
Yeah.
I know, but you're verified. You put your phone number in it.
Yeah, StreamYard lets you that. I almost do all my videos through StreamYard.
Do you
Almost
have
all
your
of them.
phone number tied to your YouTube channel?
I didn't think I did, but
Yeah.
I might.
So that's
I try to keep that
get
public
verified.
so that people can call me to learn how to be saved. It hasn't happened yet, but that's why I gotta try to grow this
cool.
YouTube
Oh, that's
channel.
cool.
That's cool.
I have my email.
But I didn't
but-
want to put. No, I didn't. Then you have to have your phone number in the YouTube has to have your phone number for you to be able to post videos longer than 15 minutes and to do live streams, because that's why
Well, they
I
definitely
can't
have
do
it
right
through
now.
my Google and
Right,
StreamYard
there you
probably
go.
have my phone.
Well, Google is
Okay, so last question then. Let me ask you this: what other things can you do to ensure you're getting the most? I mean, it seems like if you don't put a description in, I don't know if that's just in my head, but it seemed like that when I put descriptions into some of my shorts that helped, but because I was just leaving them blank. And then yeah, I have to look at it more before I make any claims because it's hard to
make
know.
some playlists, bro, with your videos. You know, on the topic. Like I had a flat Earth playlist, I had a music playlist, and then add that to your descriptions. That way, people can click on it and then watch your other videos as well and share them, and you know, just gross like that. But yeah, that's one thing I like to do is put links to the playlist on your
What about
descriptions.
tags? Hashtags? What does that do?
Try the hashtags, bro. The hashtags work too, man. On Instagram, I did real good with the hashtags to Big Ass Shadow Band, and then like you click on the hashtags now, and they're like this hashtag has been removed. You know, like I had evolution hoax, Big Bang hoax, scientism.
Do you have to connect that to a Twitter account or something though?
No, you just put a hashtag on any, even YouTube has like
Does
if
that
you
just help
search,
you search? So it just helps you
yeah,
with the search algorithm, right?
you could hashtag you know, young earth creation, and there'll be a lot of different channels that use the hashtag, and you'll come across different young earth creation channels. You can hashtag a dinosaur hoax. I did that for a couple of videos because I was kind of into that for a little bit, and yeah, you find a lot of other people that think alike too, so it's kind of cool with the hashtags.
Well,
So they get banned.
I thought that goes into the description and then helps people find it when they search those words or something. Is that not how that works? I'm not sure how it works.
I don't know, bro.
Does
I
that
put them on the
connect you to other
yeah,
people,
put
or-
them on the description. Yeah, put them on the
Okay.
description. The hashtag. Yeah.
Okay, you
And
want to
then,
share my screen real quick? I want to show you guys something.
Yeah, go ahead. And then I'm gonna show you the Georgia Guidestone stuff again.
So this is one of the descriptions about Moses on Mount Sinai, right? Moses went up with Aaron and Nate. I think this is after he writes the book of the law, like in the handwritten part that Moses gets when he's up there with God, and then he writes it, and then Moses reads it to Israel, and then God calls him back up. Then went up Moses and Aaron, Nadab and Abihu, and the 70 elders of Israel, and they saw the God of Israel. And there was under his feet, as it were, a paved work of a sapphire stone, and as it were the body of heaven in its clearness. I think other translations would say, this is the KJV, but like I think if you look at the NASB, it's kind of interesting because it's describing it as a blue sapphire like stone, so it's like so it's translucent. And that comes out in some of the other translations, right? Because it describes it as being like, it's saying it's like the sky. So it's like blue like the sky, and you can see through it like you see through the sky. So it's kind of sounds like, I'm telling you, look this up. This is Exodus 24. If you look it up in a couple different translations, especially like I think the NASB is a good one, you kind of get an idea of like what's going on with the description in the Hebrew.
What verse are we looking at?
Verse 10 in Exodus 24. Let me just change it and see if it's any different with a different version here. I forget there's a few verses that relate to this, but let's see. I think that was the NASB. That was interesting.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, let's get into some of this. So let's see how they butchered this. What did they say in this one?
Yeah, let's see. Under his feet there appeared to be a pavement of sapphire, as clear as the sky itself. Yeah, this is like a weird translation. I know I don't use this one usually, but he did
Well,
not.
it looks like they're pretty on par, saying that they saw God. So
Yeah, I mean, like sometimes, like when I do this, like I prefer the King James, but like sometimes it's like just a decision, and by looking at other versions, you got to be careful, right? Because it could be wrong or something. But I think in some cases it's like emphasizing a different aspect that may or may not be appropriately associated. So like you might catch something that's actually legitimate in some cases. That's what I would say. I mean, if you disagree, that's fine. I think you have to be careful, and you have to look at the original word and say like, is this appropriate? And sometimes it just helps clear up like what exactly is it saying. So it's not wrong. It's just a different way of wording it. So it can help you just kind of figure out what it's trying to describe if it's like kind of weird sounding. But yeah, in other words, so yeah, that's my point. Is just it seems to indicate that like it's the same material his throne is made out of, which is also described as like being lit up with fire and stuff in other verses. So like light shining forth from it, in other words.
all right, can you go back to the KJV? I can't look at that anymore. No, I'm kidding. But yeah. What do you think that is then, Jamie?
Oh, the pavement thing? I
Yeah,
think
are they
think it's a-
seeing God the Father,
think
God
it's
the
a-
no, I
Son?
don't
What
think
are
so.
they
I think
seeing?
Jesus. I think it's Jesus.
Yeah,
'Cause
that's what I think too.
I don't think you can see the Father and live. Did I didn't switch it, did I? Here, hold on. I gotta hit that. Okay, they saw God of Israel. There was under his feet a paved work of a sapphire stone, and it was where the body of heaven, as it were the body of heaven in its clearness. So yeah, it's like saying it's blue like the sky. I think. And you see, this is why I say it's blue. Maybe it didn't say it in either one of those, but let me see if I can find the right other verse. It might be. Shoot, I'm gonna have to figure it. I'll have to look it up. We'll just stop.
No, I mean that's good.
Is what's interesting.
But,
People don't notice that detail in another verse, and I'll find it in a second. But it
so
essentially,
hold on though, Jamie.
yeah. Go ahead.
So we agree that this is talking about Jesus in the Old Testament appearing, because he
Yeah.
transcends time. It's like always been with God, right?
Yep. Yeah.
All right. So now, can you find that verse that says how Moses couldn't see God because like the hinder parts? Do you know specifically where that's at? Is
That's
there a
it.
way you could search that up?
Yeah, I'll find it. It's at Horeb, I think.
Because from what I can tell from that, from this passage and that passage where Moses couldn't even look at anything but God's hinder parts, that this would have to be Jesus, appearing, because nobody can see God the Father who physically walked past Moses.
Yeah, that seems like maybe it could be the Father in that circumstance. Is that what you're suggesting? I've wondered this too. Like, why could he not seem to see God here, but then like up on Sinai, he sees him face to face?
Yeah.
Like, or at least, or I think it might. Maybe it doesn't say face to face there, but it does say like he absorbs essentially God's brightness, and then he glows because of it, right? And the people don't even want to look at him.
Yep.
That's really cool. I love that. It's like awesome. Like you can't make this stuff up. I'm sorry. I mean, you can, but like these little details, like, and how they line up with other details, you really pay attention. I'll find this. Yeah. So, yeah, here's the verse. It's Exodus 33. Looks like 18 through 20. Moses asked to see God's glory.
I don't think your screen is changing though.
Yeah, let me see if I can. Oh, yeah, I'll just change it on there. Let me do that. I'll go to verse 33 or chapter 33. Okay. And Moses took the tabernacle, pitched it. Is that the wrong verse? Oh, I got to go further down. Okay. Did I miss it? Is this the wrong one? Okay, and the Lord. Well, now here it says face to face in the KJV here. As a man speaketh. This can't be the right verse. Let's see.
Yeah, and that's another topic, but yeah, it's probably way down there. It's probably like a long chapter, but it's.
Let's see.
Oh, okay.
Right here, right? He said, "The president go with me, carry out that."
Yeah. It's further down though, maybe in the next chapter where it actually happens, because he's talking about actually appearing to him right there. Yeah, go down to the last verse of that. Where are you at now?
Came down from. I passed it. The skin of his face shone. That's got to be. Oh, let's see. Here, let me look again on my search here. It says 33, 18 through 20. Moses asked to see God's glory. My goodness will pass before you. What the heck? It's got to. I must have just scrolled over it.
I don't know. It seems like you.
18 through 20. It says. Okay, it's right here. Oh yeah, right here. I beseech ye, shew me thy glory. And he said, I will make my goodness pass before thee, and I will proclaim the name of the Lord before thee, and will be gracious to whom I will be gracious. Show mercy on whom I will show mercy. Is that the one? Seems like there's more detail.
Yeah, and it says right there in 22,
Yeah,
while my glory passeth by, I will put thee in a cleft of the rock and cover thee with my hand. And then I'll take away my hand, and you'll see my back parts. And so that physically happened. This has to be God the Father. And then the one who they're seeing on the mountain with the sapphire stone platform he's standing on is Jesus Christ. And they're both God. They're just a different body. because
Yeah.
they're distinct people, but they are both God. You can't like misrepresent that like a lot of people do. But the point is that these are two physical beings, that people are seeing. Moses himself cannot see God here, but then if it's, you have to make a distinguishment because there's no way out of this. If he can't see him at this point, but then he's able to clearly see him at the next point, it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, right. And this seems to be tied to this idea that you can't see God and live, yet you can see Jesus, and who dwells in unapproachable light, which no man has seen and lived. The blessed and only potentate, King of kings and Lord of lords, who alone has immortality and dwelleth in unapproachable light that no man has seen and lived. That
Amen.
sounds like Jesus dwelling with the Father. Of course, I
Yeah,
think
that's an interesting topic. I'm gonna clip this up later, share it.
so. Here's the interesting thing though about Exodus 24, and my point about the Exodus 24 thing is this. I don't have the other passage, and I'll just tell you, and if you want, we can look it up or whatever. But there are another passages that verify this. It might be Deuteronomy 9. It might be in Numbers somewhere that it mentions this, or Nehemiah, I forget. But it says, so you know how Moses, people mess this up too, right? They think there's like two different Ten Commandments, but like, because the way the passages are all mixed up in the different books and what it says, it can kind of confuse people. But God cuts the first tablets from this sapphire stone, because when you look at it right there in Exodus 24 that I showed you, and the other verse I'm thinking of that verifies this, it says specifically that the first tables of stone, God cuts out from the foundation that his throne is sitting on, which is made out of the same material. And I think it gives you that in the other verse, and I will find it if you want, but I'm sure of this much. I won't speak past what I know is in the verse here. But it says God cuts the first tables, that is the blank tablets, from the foundation paved stone of his throne.
Yeah, and then later Moses takes two tablets and brings them to God, right?
That's right, yeah. He brings them to God. Like some people think Moses writes the second set, but no, it just tells Moses, he says Moses cut out two tablets like the first, and it seems to me that they're not the same material, but just from the rock on the mountain. But that I'm not sure on that. I'm not sure it's clear that that's the case, but I think it suggests that it's regular stone, because when he came down the mountain the first time and they were worshiping the golden calf, he threw them down and broke them. But I don't think so. When he goes back up to redo it, I know God says, hand them to me, and then God writes them himself again. And I don't know, I forget if he speaks them again, but I know he writes them specifically.
Well, I know what happens to the first tables. It says that he ground them to powder and made the children of Israel drink it.
Oh, is that what it is? I thought that was with the golden calf.
Yeah, well, yeah, I think maybe you're right on that one. But
yeah, but yeah, he does throw them down and break them, and then I think God's like, I'm going to kill him. And Moses, like, it's kind of a little theological picture there. Moses.
Okay, well, here's a theory then. Like, maybe he could have used those original stones and just kind of like, because they're made of like sapphire, a precious gem, he could maybe like melt it down and create two other new stones.
That'd be bad. That'd be awesome. Yeah.
If it doesn't say specifically that he like destroyed them, he just kind of threw them down and they broke.
You know what's interesting about the fact that in my mind, anyways, tell me if you think this is going too far, but I don't think you could convince me it is. But I think one of the symbols going on here, like, because God would be consistent, right? So I think the blue sapphire is blue for a reason, and so when he cuts the tablets from that stone. And that it's saying that in the other verse, it's saying like the throne is on, it's like either part of it, like one piece, or it's sitting on it and it's made of the same material as throne. And this is like would be like the, like the stage of his throne, right? Some translations say like a paved street, and some of them just say pavement. Some of them say like platform, I think. The different translations, because it could be any of them, but its idea is that there's like a place to stand around the throne, right? The throne, and it's like the foundation that the throne is sitting on, in other words, okay? And so it says he cuts those first stones from that, and then you read all the verses about God's throne, and it says like because there's prophetic messianic passages about Jesus' throne, sitting on the throne. But it says things like, "Thy throne, O God, is forever. The scepter of your righteousness will reign forever," things like that, referring to Jesus. And we see him sitting on the throne in Revelation. But other verses say that the foundation of your throne is justice and righteousness. And so I think that's significant regarding the fact that he gives the moral laws from that foundation, literally from the foundation of his throne that's come down from heaven, which is described. It comes down in smoke and fire. Not just God himself, but his throne itself comes down. It almost sounds like it's made out of the crystal canopy or something, or because it's like this color of the sky. It's interesting. But literally he cuts the stones from that, which is the foundation stone of his literal throne, and gives that law. And then it says that the world's judged, righteous by righteousness and justice, right? Even the cross, it's justice and mercy, but it's still righteous, right? Because God's ways are righteous and stuff. So I think that's interesting and significant, but whatever that means. But like, I think things like that, it's like where metaphor meets reality in God's physical, in God's form. His throne is real. Think about the implications of that about heaven too, by the way. God's throne, literal throne, comes down, and then the commandments are cut out of that, and then they have them literally, physically made out of sapphire inside the ark, carrying it around with them. What does that say about heaven? It doesn't sound like this weird ethereal place to me. It sounds like a real, actual, solid place. Like probably where Jesus, the guy who's human, God and man now, his body's got to be somewhere. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah.
Sounded like you
It's
already.
crazy that it says that he wrote it with his finger. So it's like he has this platform, a stone foundation he's standing on, and he just kind of stoops down and writes the 10 Commandments on it, and then takes it out and gives it to Moses. So it's like incredible what's happening, dude.
Can you imagine, dude? Like, Jesus is gonna literally come back and split the
Here's
sky.
another theory, Jamie. What if Jesus, when he bent down to write in the sand, that's what he was doing, was writing the 10 Commandments?
Yeah, the ones they were breaking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Doesn't say that, but I think it's a pretty good theory.
Yeah, I don't think he needed to write write their particular sin. I think it's more clever to write the law to show them they're hypocrites. Why do you?
He's just doing what he already did a long time ago, except he's not taking it out of the earth and giving it to the.
Yeah, I bet you're right. I bet you that. Who knows, right? I mean, we could speculate. Like, we don't want to go too far, but like, for all we know, like, these guys probably knew, because like they're like closer to the original, right? Like, I don't think they had the ark anymore at that point, but like in Jesus' time, like it wasn't actually in there. I guess it was still like missing at that point, because Jeremiah, it seems to disappear after they get in captivity and or whatever. But like, so technically, I don't think it was in the temple at that time, but think about it. Like, if they probably had a better idea of what the commandments on tablets looked like, I'm sure they did. And like, it could have been written in a particular way. He could have even like written it in such a way that they recognized that it was that, like, he seems to. Well, he would know too, I guess. Obviously, as an Israelite, but who knows? I mean, I'm sure there's so many amazing things like that, man. Like, that people you could so easy to miss in scripture, like details like that. And like, even if you study like the garments, people always say those verses are so boring, and they are. It's just like all these lists and stuff. I'm telling you, man, that's where the treasure resides that no one has yet, or not very many people do. Or let's say, like, if you start like laying out like what it's describing, and then can like consider how these things were types and shadows of Jesus's ministry, like the temple stuff. There's so many neat things you'll see in there. Like you can see for the height of the tabernacle is you can figure out that it's equal with the height of the altar, which you can like speculate on the meaning, and like the laver and the smoke. Like, have you ever wondered why it says God like appreciated or like loved the smell of the burnt sacrifice going up into heaven. Have you heard that verse? People always make fun of that verse because God's like God likes the smell of burning sacrifice meat. Like, what's that going on, right? You ever wondered about that one? Have you heard that? People like
Yeah,
atheists.
because that's a whole burnt offering, so it's not like they're roasting it to eat it later and give it to the priests. It's like,
The fat,
you're
right?
the whole thing. So
Yeah, like, but why did God
that's
like have
obviously has to be symbolic.
Yep. Yeah, I think it represents the repentant prayers of the repentant or whatever. Because like, what does it mean to? What are that sacrifices really meaning? Like, of course they type Christ, who ends up once for all sacrifice, and I'm not trying to take away from that, but like on a more base level is the way that I think that connected them to Christ's sacrifice before it had happened, right? Is what they were actually doing was trusting God by faith to make provision for their sins that they kept struggling with. And so when they would do a sacrifice, and I actually think likely is like it wouldn't be easy for me, I know that, to kill an animal with my own hands and kill it right there. Even for the sake of it just being your money, right? It'd be hard to do or whatever. It is a sacrifice in more than one way. Like, you're having to give up like something of value. And I think probably families often cared about the animals, like took care of them, and then they had to kill it and put their sins on it. Because of their sin, blood was shed, and it was at a cost. And so I believe when it says, by doing that in faith and honoring that by faith and God taking away their sins, because like you still sinned, it's like this is the way God prescribes it to forgive you. And so the smoke of the fat going up into heaven pleased God, because that was their way of like trusting him, and in a sense that's like a way of repentance, and it's a way of trusting God. And so it was righteousness by faith in doing that sacrifice. And so
Well, yeah, we're on a new system now. It's
yeah,
like if we mess up, we no longer have to offer sacrifice, and that's like so that we don't end up dead tomorrow, not so that we don't end up hell in case we die today at some point or in the future. It's like we're doing this to please God so that he doesn't bring a curse to our land, so that we don't develop some kind of disease, because we're the people of God, supposed to be doing what he says when they get on his program. It's the same in the New Testament, except without all the bulls and the goats. It's kind of like Jesus is now in charge, and the whole system has changed. You don't even have a priesthood anymore.
yeah, no, I agree with that. I just mean like, yeah, that's the beauty of the new covenant, is those, in that same way that they trusted God for provision for their sin, we do in Jesus. And we don't have to, it's not a continuing thing like the Catholics do. It's a once for all, to take away the sin. So, yeah.
Yeah,
And
but
so,
the primary symbolism, I think, of that sweet smelling savor is that it's Jesus Christ. And then obviously the
yeah, sure.
typology or symbolism of the burnt offering is Jesus himself, which I believed went to hell and burned for 3 days and 3 nights, and then rose again from the dead.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm saying. I mean, I'm essentially saying that too. I don't mean to say it's something different than that, in the sense that I don't think he went to hell, but I think he did. I do think it's a representation, because why did God? I mean, I don't. Maybe you think differently on this. I don't really look at it like Jesus, like God was like happy to murder Jesus or something, but other than the fact that it was a way to save us, right? And so, like, in a sense, I don't mean it like I came out. I mean it like, I just mean like, he's happy because it's reconciling the world to him, back to him, in that sense. So like, I mean, you could say it either way, actually, really, but that's what I would say. You think Jesus burned?
Yeah. Yes, I do believe that. That's what the Bible teaches, is that he burned in hell for at least, that's what he said, 3 days and 3 nights. So before the 4th day, sometimes some people say the 3rd day. So it's like more like 2 days that he's in hell. But the Bible teaches that he would go to hell, like, because his soul had to go somewhere.
Well, are you
And that's the point of it.
Are you KJV?
Yeah.
Okay. Because I think it just means he was. I get why you would say that. In other words, but I think,
Well, it actually says in Isaiah that his soul would be made an offering for sin, and that the rich man, you could look at the rich man and Lazarus, where the rich man is like burning in hell, and he's looking up at Lazarus, and then it says that Jesus, also in the prophecy of Isaiah, that he would, be, what does it say? Now I can't recall the verse, but he would make his bed with the wicked, and he would be numbered among the transgressors.
Isaiah
So he
54.
went to the rich man's portion of hell, even if it is a bosom separated into two compartments. Like, he's in the bad spot of it. It didn't say that he rose and went to heaven, right?
Right, that's for sure. He certainly went down. But what do you think paradise is then when he tells the guy he went to paradise?
That's interesting, but it's Jesus is transcending time and space and matter, all of it. So yeah, once he's in hell, like there's I don't understand, a Trinity that is like that isn't trapped in time. Once you because it says that Jesus had the power, if he wanted to reverse it, but he chose by his free will to die, and then he knew that he would descend into the lower parts of the earth. So if the rich, the guy on the cross, and then he tells them, today you're going to be with me in paradise. Well, if that the soul of that individual ends up in heaven with God, even if Jesus isn't present, does that mean that Jesus was lying when he told them that you're going to be with me?
No, I think there's a couple ways out of it, but yeah, I mean, I think, well, because he grabs when he rises from the dead, what does he tell Mary? She grabs his ankles. She clings to his ankles. That's what it's saying. He's not saying don't just merely touch me. He's saying don't be clingy. Like she's like grabbing his ankles. I forget how it runs.
The ultimate clinger.
Yeah, totally. But like people get confused about that because like why is he saying don't touch me? Like because it sounds like it's saying like just don't touch me. I haven't ascended to my Father, like she's unclean or something. But the word is actually the same word as like cling, not just merely touch.
Well, I think it's just because of the fact that he's it said that he hadn't ascended to the Father, and that wouldn't happen till like over a month later in front of like a whole bunch of witnesses.
Yeah, so that's kind of interesting because like he wouldn't be like saying don't cling to me, I'm about to ascend. He's like, but it does, that is true though what I said. It's like cling. She's like clinging to him, like, so it's hard to tell exactly what he means when he's saying that. It sounds like he's saying like don't touch me, you're unclean, and I haven't, like, you're gonna make me unclean or something. But
I think that there has to have been a point like in between the time when he told the woman that he was gonna come and visit, the apostles, they need to go to the meeting spot, like after he gave her that message, it's possible that he actually ascended at that point. And then that's why you see him going in and out, when he appears and then he like disappears basically in their sight. And they're like, where did he go? That was amazing. What's going on?
Yeah, right. Exactly. Yeah, I forget. I think I've looked at that before because I wondered that too. And I feel like I came to the conclusion that he didn't ascend for some reason, but I can't remember why. And so that may be not the case.
So really maybe an unclean approach isn't so bad if he hasn't even gone to heaven yet. And some believe that he went to physically sprinkle his blood on the altar that's in heaven. I don't know about that one, but it seems to be accepted by some preachers that I really respect.
Yeah, that's what Adventists teach. They teach that he took to the heavenly sanctuary, because there is a heavenly temple. Sorry, like it's all over the Bible. Look in Revelation 11:9, for instance. Look in Hebrews 8, 9, and 10, especially Hebrews 8. It's even in the Old Testament if you look carefully in the Psalms. It often speaks of the God dwelling in His temple, and many of them are ambiguous as far as to if it's talking about the earthly one. In many cases, I'm sure it actually is, but it doesn't clarify. But there's a few verses that hint that He's actually in one in heaven, and it says Moses built the tabernacle in the wilderness after the pattern of the temple in heaven. So there's also metaphors that we're the temple, that Jesus Himself and God are the temple. even in Revelation, but it also seems to speak of a literal temple. It says in Revelation 11:9, it says the heavens are opened and John sees the ark of his testimony in the temple in heaven. Like he looks up and sees the ark, like it seems to be like another ark of the covenant in a temple in heaven, whatever that means. You could interpret it different ways, but it's saying the ark of his testimony or whatever, which suggests that.
Here's what really boggles my mind, Jamie, is it's like, well, I guess it doesn't, in light of some stuff that we've discussed, is like, normally people would think of God as like stationary in heaven, you know, like in that temple that you're speaking of, like he's at the top of it on the throne and he doesn't move. But we see him constantly getting off that temple and interacting, you know, with like physically coming down, like to talk with Moses. And that's like incredible that he would actually even do that, you know.
You know what's funny about you saying that and bringing that up? I had forgotten that thing about it seeming to be not Jesus there, and that one part of the story, it seems to be the Father. Someone earlier today was mocking me, kind of indirectly or something, telling me something I hadn't even really thought about for years, about what's taught in my church or whatever, but something I just hadn't thought about. But it did cross my mind when they brought it up that I'd heard preachers that seemed to kind of, Adventist preachers that talk about the Father like he's a person, like Jesus, maybe like you know, just kind of like speculating and talking about like the marriage supper of the Lamb, and like God and Jesus are there, you know, sitting there or something in some sense. The way I remember hearing that sort of thing, and I remember, you know, and people argued the Father is just you know, a mind or you know, a non-physical, like has no body sort of thing. And like I don't know how to exactly think about that whole thing about like the distinguishing between having a body or not. Like obviously they don't have like a human body. Fleshly, that is, I mean, you know, like, but there seems to be suggestive that he takes form, like you mentioned. It's just interesting that someone was like kind of mocking me that, don't Adventists think like God the Father has a body? And it's like, well, what do you mean by has a body? Like, we don't mean he was like a human and like ascended. Like, I think Jesus is forever a human being now, because I like to look at it like he took on humanity and now he's forever a human. Seems like that's the case in the Bible. What do you guys think? Like he has a glorified,
yeah, I mean,
obviously, but
in that verse that you covered where they saw the God of Israel, like, does it say anything about his physical body? Because it seems like it just focuses like on what was around him.
Yeah, I don't like. I think that like the angel of the Lord is suggested to be Christ as well, and like, you know, at least the angel of the Lord is a pre-incarnate Christ. But there is an important distinction to be made in that, like, Jesus didn't have a human body before he was born as Jesus, but he was the Logos, or like the eternal Son. Now, it seems that he would appear, because it says the God of Israel appeared to Abraham, right? And like he came with two angels and different things like that. And the angel of Yahweh seems to accept worship and things like that, right? And no angel accepts worship. We see that is the case in several passages. So it seems to me that for certain the angel of the Lord is Jesus, because angel can mean not create. It doesn't have to mean created being. It didn't mean that in the Old Testament. It just means a messenger. Now it comes to mean that in the New Testament. I mean, some people have a problem with that, but that's my understanding. So Jesus is called an angel. I think even in the King James once, actually, if I recall, I don't remember the verse, but my point isn't to say he's created, just to say that can mean just in certain circumstances. It doesn't, like in Hebrews, there's a verse that it does suggest that angel means created being in that context, but there's other contexts where it does not mean that. And I'm not trying to argue that Jesus was created. He wasn't. He's God. But my point is just to say this. Once he's born as a human, I think something changes, because it's like a body you prepared for me. He wasn't a human before that. It's important to understand that his humanness and his human body is being born of Mary puts him in the human line of King David, which is necessary to fulfill the prophecies properly. And it's also very critical for him to be literally become a son, because he's called the Son of Man. Why do you think that is? Because he becomes a human. He's also the special Son of God, because he's God himself, but he's also born of God, right, when he becomes incarnate. So I think in my mind, those two titles stem from their just etymological usage. Is just a common term. When you're a son of man, it just means you're born of, you know, humans. Son of God means you're direct creation of God. And so what it's saying is that he's God and he becomes a man. He's fully God and fully man. And last thing I'll say about that is just this. for him to be a kinsman redeemer, he has to in all ways be a human. And so that's the whole thing with the hypostatic union that's so important. We have to understand him as God, the eternal Son, if you will. You could say it some other way, but the point is he's from eternity. And he has to also be one of us in the sense to redeem us. He had to come as a human, fully human. So I believe he was not human like he is now until he was incarnated, but that he's also, that's part of the beauty of what he did, is that he became a human. And I don't know how that would limit him in a glorified body or not. It doesn't say, but I think it seems to suggest his scars will be able to see as like a remembrance of our salvation, which I kind of think is a nice thought. Feel free to totally disagree with anything I said.
No, yeah, I agree with it. Well, something that I wanted to ask you though was, is what do you think that the Antichrist and false prophet and the mark of the beast, specifically that mark, do you think that this is more of like a program that they're gonna, rather than like a physical mark? Because I know the SDA model on this is to teach that the mark is just symbolic of the Sunday, okay, which they're gonna force everybody to worship on.
Yeah, I try to explain it this way to people. I think it makes sense. I can explain why if you want, but it's like this. I was taught that it doesn't mean you have to be a Seventh-day Adventist to be saved. It doesn't mean even people in history that didn't keep Saturday aren't saved. Okay, there's of course, I would say this about being saved. Like, you're not saved by obeying God. None of that works towards your salvation, right? But then I would also say saved people obey God. And I would argue that the principles of the Ten Commandments, or whatever you want to say it, are still valid, but they're not what saves you. They're not what justifies you. And so the issue would be this. I would never say you have to keep the commandments to be saved, but I would say, if someone said, can you just break the commandments if, as a saved person? I don't feel comfortable saying you can, but I'm not going to say you have to do it to be saved per se, right? Like, so it's like, saved people obey God, and we all sin and we ask for forgiveness for our sins, right? So regards to the Sabbath thing, the idea is this: at the very end, Rome will become, will merge with the civil authority over the world, essentially. So like the religious, power will become one with the civil power, and they will enforce Sunday as a mandatory thing. But the other detail is, like, if you look at the three angels' messages in Revelation, where it's warning, it's like the final warning. And of course, it's not dispensational, right? So this is assuming everybody is on the earth, Jew or Gentile or whatever, right? And so it's the final warning to believe the gospel and obey God. And so it doesn't become the mark of the beast until God has given, like, we don't know, they don't say, or we don't say that exactly how that'll work, but that God will in some way make it clear so that people who are truly, believers will see that God wants them to obey, and then they'll see this, and then the mark of the beast falls by making it mandatory, and so that you keep the certain day or whatever. So that's the idea. And then so if you take the mark at that point, then that would be the mark of the beast. And most of the people that talk about it would say there's probably some sort of thing that's tagged onto it, like with buying and selling, maybe. Like, it could be a physical thing, like literally be, like a microchip, or like some sort of like indicator that like lets you buy stuff or not. And so that's try to compel people.
I just wanted to make sure that I understood the position, so I guess I do. You're probably a lot more studied on it than I am. But
I would say,
because from what I was reading, it was really hard. Like, once I really started like going into it, trying to figure out what they believe, like, because I knew what I believed, but then I was going to that church for a while, so I was trying to figure out their position, and it was pretty hard actually to. That's what I didn't like about it, though. It's like you had to spend so much time studying this stuff that, like,
yeah, there's a lot to learn, and that's unfortunate. But I would say the easiest way to see, like, so just real quick, I'll tell you why I think it actually makes a lot of sense. If you look at like in the Old Testament where it talks about the right hand and the forehead, it's clearly talking about what you believe, and your right hand is like what you do, or like your works, so like what you like physically do. Your right hand is like and even the Jews, right? You see it today still, because God says to them, bind the law on your forehead and on your right hand. They actually literally do that with little Torahs. They wrap it with ribbons on their hand, the right hand and their forehead, and they like do their little like bending thing towards the Western Wall. It's really kind of interesting. They take it literally, right? But that's the idea, and there's like 3 or 4 verses that suggest this idea that the right hand and the forehead is your works and your beliefs. And so, and then you look at in Daniel the little horn power that puts himself above God, and it says he seeks to change time and laws. And if that's in the context of God's laws of a spiritual thing, like, and then you look at like what the Roman Church did, like in at a certain, people were keeping Sunday. I don't want to misrepresent history here, for various reasons. Some Christians were keeping Sabbath, some weren't. Okay, at that time, it seems to me about 150 A.D. is when we see the first writings talking about people keeping Sunday, because there's like anti-Semitism and stuff going on. So, but there were Christians keeping Sabbath all through history, but different groups or whatever. But the point is, it did become official rule of law or whatever by like, I think it was the Council of Laodicea in like 321, that he officially outlawed Saturday as the Sabbath and made Sunday the official Sabbath or whatever. There's a couple different edicts of that, right? So if it is the Pope and it is Rome, he is the one that did that in history. And then the other things about the Antichrist, those are some of the main details. And then from Daniel and then in Revelation, it talks about how he takes the prerogatives of God, that is, changes, he changes the, I think it says the statutes or something. And in another place it talks about that. And then is what's interesting. If you read the 3 angels' messages, what is it about? What do they do with the beast? He's a man, and it says, don't worship the beast, worship God, right? And the 3 angels, like, Babylon is fallen, which I think is suggestive of like false doctrines and things. And then it says, one of the angels literally says, fear God and keep his commandments, for the hour of his judgment has come. That's what the angels warn. It's the final message to the world. And then the last thing I'll say about it is the other angel says, fear God and worship him who made the earth, the sea, and all that in them is. And it talks about how the Babylon is fallen, and like all of its stuff is like filthy, and like people are wandering after the beast and its beauty and stuff, and it's describing it with all this gold and lavishing like the colors of the bishops and the cardinals. And it says, but that's the main one. It literally quotes the 4th commandment in one of the, like, not exactly, but when it says like worship God who made the earth, the sea, and all that in them is, that's literally like a little excerpt from the 4th commandment, and it's about worship.
I'm really not understanding how that has, like, what that has to do with the mark of the beast.
Oh, because it's the last warning. It says, oh yeah, that's the other angel's messages. Don't worship the beast. And then it says worship God, and then it quotes from the 4th commandment. So I'm saying like that's where they get this idea from. And then the idea that he seeks to change times and laws, and that's the only law in God's law that has to do with time is the Sabbath. So that's what they appeal to, in other words.
Yeah, I had a really tough time like committing to that, because I could only see one verse that even speaks on the mark of the beast. So if I try to take it typologically, I need to see that clearly interpreted in another place in scripture, but like there isn't one available. So all I can do is take the verse literally. I can't
look up that one that says, it's about worship. And then the other one I would say is, I think it's in Daniel, but I could be wrong. It might be in Revelation, but it says the power that is the Antichrist. And maybe you would see it differently. And I should find the verse, but it says that this guy, he speaks blasphemies against God, and he takes the prerogatives of God. He's an Antichrist, which literally means in place of Christ. And he says he seeks to change times and laws. And so that's what they would say, or I would say that it's hard to swallow for me too, a little bit, but I do think there's certain aspects that I've already mentioned.
Another thing that because these are just problems that I have with SDA at this point. The first is Ellen G. White, which you've said that you really don't like disagree with her, but it's obviously not scripture. I think they take.
Yeah.
I don't like that. I don't even want to get on that, but because I'm not expecting you to try to defend Ellen White, and you've already said that it doesn't even matter, and I don't believe it does. But there was the mark of the beast thing, and then I searched that out. I was like, no, I can't do that. But then they have another doctrine where hell is not even a place of everlasting torment. It's just like an annihilation. And then,
Yeah.
so what,
I
do
definitely
you agree with that?
I do. I didn't want to like bring it up and push it on you or anything. So, but I appreciate the way you're. This is the right way to talk to somebody, and so I want to just tell you that I appreciate that way you're going about it. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with. You could even be more disturbed or whatever, and I would be appreciative of the way you're. Because I've gotten a lot of crap that's not warranted. So I think you're a model of respect in that way. So I appreciate that. But yeah, I mean, there's just so much to go into. We could talk about it another time. I'm getting pretty tired, but I can tell you, I can
set up a hell debate. That'll be interesting because a lot of
yeah, if you want to, I'll debate you on it if you want.
there's so much
Yeah.
debate I came across
Okay.
lately about some people, think it's just a lake of fire, and they're like, well, where's hell and where did
I
Jesus
believe that
go?
I
There's
believe
so
that
much.
people are thrown in literal fire, by the way, and destroyed, and they're eternally destroyed. So I do believe in it. I do believe in hellfire, and I do believe that it's eternal. I just think they don't go on living forever in it.
All right. Well, I don't know. Do you got Instagram or something? Because I can give you my email or whatever, so that we
give
can
me your email.
schedule that, because that has to happen.
Okay.
That'd be cool. Yeah, I like to see.
Here, I'll give you. I have. Okay, sorry, Iger. Let me just tell them one last thing here, and I'll
Go
put my
ahead.
email in. But I'm going to put the link to. I did a video on this. It's not exhaustive on all the things, but it's pretty good. I think it's a couple hours long, but I have the leading scholar on this. That's not an Adventist. Chris Date from Rethinking Hell. So I interviewed him for like 2 hours, and then I had Rebecca from Bread of Life, who's also an annihilationist, who's not Adventist. And she brought a lot of good stuff to the table too. She came really prepared and brought scholarly things and manuscript evidence. But I mean, if you're King James only, it's going to be difficult. Although it is interesting that the Adventists came to this belief in the early years of the church with using a King James Bible, by the way. So that's interesting. I don't know a lot about how that works, but I could see where you wouldn't see it in a King James, because they translate Gehenna, Hades, both as and Sheol as hell in places, most places. And so
Yeah.
so that kind of muddies the waters, because they are different words and they just translated it hell. In other places, there's a few places in the King James where they translated the grave, like
Yeah.
Sheol. What do you make of that?
Yeah. I can provide more details in the debate, but basically,
Okay, sure.
what I believe is that they were putting their theology into the text and using a word that generalizes all of it, and I believe they were correct to do so.
Oh, okay, that's a good way. The way you said that was really helpful, because I can see that can be that's somewhat reasonable, because you're saying like if God gave the English Bible how He intended it to teach, and so if it is the case that those mean essentially the same, they have overlap in the ways that you're saying.
Well, yeah, because it's like if you were to go to a normal person and ask them what Gehenna is, they probably wouldn't know what you were saying.
What is
There's like a problem there when you're trying to translate a Bible where everybody can understand it.
Sure, but what was the difference between Gehenna and Hades when they wrote it in Greek? Are you saying there was no difference? Because they're two different words. How would you think about that? I mean,
They just refer to the same. Well, because I believe that hell has two locations. One of them is currently in the core of the earth, and the second one is going to be kind of on the surface in a lake form.
Yeah, I think that things like that are actually
But you could call them both hell.
I'm not going to say hell always means the grave. I mean, Gehenna to me suggests when Gehenna is used, there's ties to the language which suggests that it's describing like an event that happened in the Old Testament, or where certain things took place that God despises, and so it's kind of a connection that way, that this is where judgment will take place, like for the worst crimes, kind of thing. But it also describes, like you said, as fire and stuff in it, so it's a fiery judgment and things like that. Have you ever read
So
Isaiah 66? Sorry, go
Isaiah
ahead.
66, like the
Right, no.
last chapter of Isaiah.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's like probably, I can't say that it's my favorite passage in the Bible, but it's pretty close to John 3:16, because they both kind of go together, you know. It's one place or the other after you die, so it's like it comes down to John 3:16 and Isaiah 66. You know, you're
Okay,
either
yeah.
going to burn or you're going to live.
If you take that literally, what do you make of the part that says, it's clearly talking about the end of time, and it says, all flesh shall come to worship me from Sabbath to Sabbath.
We're not talking about like
It says, oh no, he says, as the new heavens and the new earth shall remain before me, says the Lord, so will all flesh come to worship me from one new moon to another and one Sabbath to another.
all flesh, referring to the people who are able to actually enter into the kingdom, you know, and participate in the kingdom. This is
It's new
all
heavens
flesh.
and new earth. It says new heavens and new earth.
Right. I don't
So-
see how that relates to the people who are in the lake of fire, though.
No. I was just that was a new question, I guess, about the
Oh,
Sabbath.
okay. I didn't know we was on a new topic.
Yeah.
but-
Sorry, bro. Sorry. Well, in 66, I was going to point out about the hell thing is that I think Revelation, when it says or like in the Gospels where it says where the fire is not quenched and the worm shall not die. This is the last thing I'll say on it, so we can do the debate or whatever. But it says that seems to be the imagery that is being drawn from in Revelation is from Isaiah 66, where with the worm that doesn't die and the fire that's not quenched. And it describes it in Isaiah 66, which is clearly where the New Testament writer is drawing from, because it's talking about the eschaton, and it says their dead bodies and no one will bury them. And so I think that the whole idea is that there's going to be no one there to like put the fire out, and no one to stop the worms from eating their corpses. But that's all I'll say about it. We can get into it later. That'll be fun. I'll put the if you're interested in kind of knowing my position, because there's nothing in that video that I disagreed with. They all said things that I believe in there, but it's like experts from my perspective answering. People are asking, bringing up verses and stuff, all the verses that are hard to deal with. So we cover everything. So that'd be a good video for you to like review if you're going to want to do this with me.
Yep. So you got an Instagram?
I do not, and I'm trying to set up I have like a TikTok I just set up today, but the best way to I'll leave you my email and I'll leave you my phone number.
Yeah,
You
like
can
in the
text me or call
comment
me.
section, the regular comment section after this is over. Because anything that is in the live, I'm not going to be able to like pull up later, I don't think.
Oh yeah, okay. Got it.
If I was going live on YouTube directly, I think it would save them. Or if I was like,
Just,
I don't know
just put
how
on the
that's
private
working.
chat now, because that's kind of like you want him to.
Yeah, I don't want to put my
his
phone number in the
number
public chat.
and his email.
Yeah,
in
the private
comment.
chat, and then I can.
Yeah,
put it
just
on the private
email
chat.
me and then I'll give you my phone number.
Yeah.
I just need your email.
Yeah, that's cool.
Can I show Jamie the Georgia Guidestones getting destroyed again?
Yeah, go for it.
Before
Are you
y'all
bummed?
listening.
Are you bummed that I don't believe in regular hell or whatever? Is that a big deal for you?
Well, you know, that's an interesting question. I've told Iger already, like my dad believes in a flat earth. I highly disagree with it. I'm having a flat earth debate next week, by the way.
Oh, interesting. That's
Ooh.
amazing.
My best
We can
friend
have your
believes
friend.
in annihilation. So I got two people here that are just like, I really respect, but I believe they're off their rockers.
Yeah,
No
it's
offense.
a hard journey, but I'm of everything I told you about tonight that we might differ on, I would say hell is the one I'm the most sure of too, to be honest. But
Yeah.
how much have you looked at that position?
I've looked at it a lot. You know, when I come to a point where I can't commit to the alternative, it's just like
Yeah,
you
that's-
have to make a decision at some point. You have to
Yeah.
commit to something.
What's your flat earth debate, bro?
I know what
Be
you
on
mean.
the 16th with Peter.
You gotta,
all
you
right,
gotta
all right.
like I was taught this from day one. So like I mean, I've looked at it a lot, the way people understand different texts, and like I'm really bothered by the fact that like what I hear some of preachers that I respect in different churches, like John MacArthur or like and many others that I listen to and don't agree with on everything, but I think I even listen to Steven Anderson. I mean, I disagree with him a lot on a lot of things really strongly, but I think he has a lot of stuff right too. So I listen to a lot of different preachers from all sorts of different churches that are like, fundamental, not, I don't listen to like progressives really, but the ones most people listen to that we know, MacArthur, Piper, and not much of Piper, but I like a lot of Reformed guys, even though I'm not Reformed whatsoever.
Yeah,
But I
I
listen
don't
to
like those guys.
I don't
I
like
like
Preston.
Stephen Anderson, but I don't like probably anybody else that you mentioned.
My big issue is with the OSAS position, like from the NIFB, is this: that I'm not like people think I'm like about like losing your salvation, and I'm really not. I'm really not that guy. Like I'm not interested. I just think that telling people that like no matter what they're good and like when they might not be, I think is dangerous. But I'm not interested in telling people like they've sinned too much to be saved or that they're going to lose their salvation. Like I don't tell people that. Like I have friends that stop believing, and I know people who stopped believing that were hardcore, OSAS free grace types. I've met everybody of different. So I don't buy the excuse that people didn't believe the right gospel and that's why they don't believe anymore. I just don't think that's reality. I think people of all different types have stopped believing, and I think that's where I'd say you might not be able to be saved anymore if you stop believing. It's not about. I think sin can draw you away from God if you get too deep into it. That's how it happens. But I would never say like you lost your salvation because you did this sin or that sin. Of course, besides blaspheming the Holy Spirit, which is unclear what that really means. I think it's a lifelong thing that you reject the Holy Spirit is what that's saying. But I think, I would say if someone believed and trusted Christ and then they, for whatever reason down the road, they no longer believe and in many cases seem to hate God even, I just don't see that being able to say that they're saved. And so some people will say they were never saved. And I think that's cheating. But the problem I have with like that really hardcore strong with that, like people tell me I'm not saved, even though I totally trust Christ and I believe in justification by faith, is what I have a problem with. I think they're being inconsistent. I'm just trying to be realistic. Is when they say that, but then they say like, well, I asked them something like, "Hey, well, what if some gay church believes OSAS just like you? Are they saved?" Well, no. Well, that doesn't make any sense to me. That's my biggest complaint about that view. It seems like they do have standards. They're not consistent with it, and so no one's given me a good answer for that. If you can, go ahead, and I'll
Okay,
listen.
can you describe that again? Because all we say is that uh, the reason that you couldn't just turn away and not believe, you can't just hand over your belief, is because you're like eternally saved. It's not even like a possibility. It's not something you're mentally capable of doing after you get saved. There's no way you're going to turn away from the Lord and just like reject him. You can't disown your father after you've already been adopted into the family.
Yeah, but what if a gay guy believes exactly like you do? Is he saved?
He's a liar. That's what he is.
But you don't think people can come as they are to be saved?
Yeah, I do.
So I mean, that's what I'm kind of saying. Like, it seems like if you want to say like those people can't exist or like, and I agree with you that like it doesn't really make a lot of sense to me about like if you truly trusted Christ and you're adopted, right? Like how would you ever leave that, or why would you? That doesn't make any sense. I don't know. I just know that I know people of all stripes as far as how they thought of salvation. I know OSAS people. I just interviewed one yesterday. Now, I just have a hard time saying they're all lying about it. Like you can talk to their families and things, and some of them I've known, and I just think I can't make sense of that. In other words, like I said, I get the position. I think it's really important that people have security in the faith, and I think the Bible teaches really strongly that if you believe, if you're in Christ, you're eternally secure, is how I would say it. And I know that's going to sound like being inconsistent or something, but I do kind of think of it like that. Like if you're in Christ, and I know that there's a ditch on both sides, in other words, so I don't want to like sugarcoat it. I think the problem with people who take my view is that people struggle with security, and I think that's really problematic. But I think the other side, the ditch, would be what I described, things like that I described. I won't keep talking about it, but that's my position. So just to be straight up with you.
Yeah.
So I mean, me and SFT talk about it all the time and disagree and try to be friendly about it. And like, I get if that's salvation. Like, if you don't believe that, it's like, it's a divide. But my thought on that is this: like you can't have fellowship with someone who disagrees with you on that. I get that. I just think, I think as Protestant believers, if as long as, because I do believe, and I know people think I don't essentially, but I am convinced I do, and I think I understand it, is that I do believe in justification by faith alone, by grace alone. So, and I do think I'm sola scriptura as well, and all that. So in that sense, I think we can have fellowship on that ground, and just, you know, whatever that's worth. I know.
Yeah,
Steve
it's either way, you know, if I'm talking to because nobody knows anybody's hearts. So I'm just talking to people that I'm assuming based on their testimony that are saved. If they're not, that's not my position. I respect you either way, even if you were coming here as an atheist. Like, I respect atheists. You know, I respect people who worship Allah and Buddha. It really doesn't matter. But, you know, so I respect you either way. That's my point.
Yeah, well, you know what? I think you can be harder than me than that.
Yeah. I mean, I don't like what you're teaching, but that's like
well, I can tell you what, the way you're
I would say that
is good.
I would say you're doing yourself your own harm, and I just like try to, if you can help me, then yeah, I want to be helped. And so it's just like a growing pain, you know, of just it's like brothers, you know, they try to grow up together and they're just not always on board with each other's views. And so they fight. That's fine. That's how we grow.
How old are you? If you don't mind me asking, are you in your 20s?
I'm 33.
Okay, you just look young. You told me that before. Well, I think the way you handle it is quite impressive compared to most I meet. So
I don't know. You should go to that debate I had with Peter, because that turned out to be a dumpster fire right about an hour and 20 minutes in. It wasn't going good for me. I wasn't handling myself very well.
Well, the way you're talking, I appreciate it. And I think I think that it's more convincing. Let's put it that way. That you might be right when you act like you do, rather than a lot of other people I meet. So I'll just let you know. I'm just telling you that for whatever it's worth.
Yeah, you cool, Jamie. I appreciate that. Iger, what are you doing? Why are you just playing this video over and over?
The two witnesses, huh?
Oh, can I share the video? Can I share my screen? I want to show the video of I want to show Jamie the video of the Georgia Towers going down again real quick. Let's see. Where is it?
What happened?
I just closed it. Doggone it.
Oh, I'm going to put that video in so you can, if you want to get the best lock on my position.
Yeah, I'll watch it. If it's a full video, I guess. Well, I can't copy something else though. So I'll send you an email, and then you can respond to my email with that link, and I'll watch it.
Okay, yeah. So you can also email me at Gmail, the same address.
All right.
But this one's better because it's not as cluttered. And I'll tell you this: am I right in thinking that you basically would hold to what Steven Anderson teaches on this matter?
Yeah, not a single thing I would disagree with them on this topic. Most other topics either, but
Because I remember that I've heard. I haven't listened to him much in the last year or two, but I had listened to him a lot in the past. Um, that's why I like Baptists. Like I have disagreements, obviously, right? But we're not as different as some Baptists seem to think. I think as far as like how we look at the Bible and how we think of the Bible and read it or whatever, like kind of in a literal sense to some degree. Although, so you have the same view of eschatology, would you say, of Revelation? Like have you watched the series? I've watched it in the past, but
yeah, I don't have a problem. It's like I just can't. I can tend to disagree with some of the details, but
okay. So you're
I
not
think
whole
that
that view, but pretty much similar type of system.
yeah, it's a good story, even if it's uh, even if it's wrong.
Yeah,
Like it
here.
sounds good to me.
Yeah, because I don't think he holds. I think he actually puts the 7 years in the future, if I recall. I think Hovind does too. Is that right? Do you know if that's true? I can't remember.
Yeah, it's a post-trib rapture. Yeah.
With the full 7 years, though, the 70th week, do they put the
Well,
whole 7? I can't remember.
no, because we understand that it's a division of the final year.
Oh, okay, I didn't know that. Okay, I see. I thought one of them thought the whole 7 years is. I don't. I'm trying to like
Or the
organize.
final, yeah. So there's 7 years to come, and the Bible says that it's going to be divided in half. So we just look at it from the tribulation starting it after the first half. The first 3.5 years has already passed. You move into this second half, which is like a lot worse.
Okay, so you don't necessarily deny that Jesus is fulfilling Daniel 9:27 when he's cut off halfway in the week, or no? Can't remember. Seems like Steven Anderson.
I believe that it was Steven Anderson would agree with me as well. This is like I get a lot from him, but it was fulfilled partially in the Old Testament, but not in its entirety.
Okay,
There's
yeah.
a dual prophecy aspect.
Okay, yeah. That seems like obviously needs to be the case. I couldn't remember that, and I think Standing might have even told me wrong on that because he was saying that. It seemed like he was for a minute, and I'm not sure if he's changed his mind. He acted like he did when I explained to him the details about how you really don't want to deny that this is talking about Jesus bringing the new covenant in Daniel 9:27. But I'm not sure what his position is, and I'll have to look at Steven Anderson. But now I'm bringing up another topic, so sorry. But yeah, email me and I'll send you the best stuff I can to give you help on understanding my position if we're going to do the debate or whatever. But yeah, I'll talk to you through email, man. Have a good night.
All right, then, Jamie. Are you
going to show that video real quick or no?
Oh yeah, man. My bad.
What's up,
Share my
Chris?
screen. I wanted to show Jamie just real quick.
Sorry to interrupt you. What were you saying, Chris?
I didn't know if you were going to bounce or not.
I'll wait to see that if you guys want to show me. I was curious.
Yeah, you got to share my screen, Chris. I exited by accident.
Oh, Jamie, let me get at you on something real quick, though.
Yeah.
Do you believe that dinosaurs lived with man?
Yeah.
Okay, do you want to team up with me against Tom Jump and Snake was right? Because I don't have a partner right now. And they scheduled it till this. It's not till like next Thursday now. It was supposed to be this Thursday, but I can't find a partner.
Yeah. Let's not make it this Thursday, though. We need more time.
Yeah, it's like next Thursday. That's
Okay,
what the YouTube says. He hasn't emailed me back, but
I do. There are a few things that people often use, including some of my good friends, that I don't think should be used. But I do agree that I for sure believe that a lot of the evidence that people often use is valid. But there's a few of them I don't. Like I don't think, and so I always want to tell you this up front. Like I absolutely am a young Earth creationist and think dinosaurs lived with man because I think the Earth is 6,000 years ago. Blah blah blah. But I think some of those pictures that people use shouldn't be used. But I mean, it doesn't really matter. I mean, if you want to use them, I would still do it. But my point is, like, I think some of those are a little bit sketchy. Like like the ones where it's like those dinosaurs with people say they're dinosaurs with the necks twisted up. I don't think those are supposed to be dinosaurs, but maybe you can convince me otherwise. I do think that one of that one in like Arizona with the looks like a brontosaurus like thing or whatever. That one I think is one of the better ones. And I one of the ones I'm also quite convinced is legitimate is Glen Rose. Seems legitimate. Some of it's fake, but I remember there was one. I can't remember the guy's name, but he had like a unibrow. He used to do a presentation on it. Don
Yeah.
Patton. Just thought of it. Don Patton. I think there's
That guy has amazing presentation.
yeah, on Glen Rose where he shows the succession of footprints one after the other, and that guy went up there and like chipped them out and stuff.
Yeah, he gives like the whole story. It's a legitimate eyewitness testimony. I don't.
Yeah, and he
even
recorded it too. He's got pictures, and so that I would be keen on using that.
Yeah, I have. That's basically the majority of my evidence. But I just like need a partner because for some reason it has to be this way. It has to be like a tag team debate. And I even suggested 2-on-1, but he was saying that gets negative reactions, so they don't want to do that.
Yeah, I haven't prepared for this kind of debate before. I don't, so I would have to totally like from scratch or like follow your lead. And
well, you could just
I
like
want to do it. I'm happy to do it, and I will do it, and I want to do it. But I know somebody who's like just recently would be a good partner too. That has a channel, CJ. You know who that is?
yeah, that's actually if you go to Modern Day Debate, that's what's on the schedule. Like we were actually supposed to team up and do this, but he has to like work.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So it didn't work out for him. But now that they have it scheduled till next Thursday, I don't know.
That must be the one he was talking about then, because he's my friend. So sure, yeah, no problem, man.
What time's
Just
the
email
debate?
me and I'll
9? 8? What time's the
Whenever's
debate on
fine.
Thursday?
Oh, it's like next Thursday. It should be at like 10 o'clock
So like 9 days,
Pacific time.
9 days from now.
10 o'clock Pacific time.
Yeah,
Okay,
because he
no
doesn't
problem.
like to stream late, and
Is that
I don't
modern
know.
debate? Modern day debate?
Yeah, it's on Modern Day Debate.
Yeah,
It's like
sure.
1 a.m. Eastern time.
I'm basically Pacific time anyway, so
Wait, Pacific
I'm in
time
Idaho, so yeah, just email me and I'll get back to you by the morning or whatever. And
I mean, it's a cakewalk, really. For me, you just pull up some images and they're legitimate. You know, like ancient drawings of dinosaurs. You know, it's like it's pretty much everywhere. Your computer melts when you type in "get oven," and you could just add more details after that. So you have tons of research on that. I'm focusing on the tracks. That's what my slides are.
Oh, good. I remember he had a really good presentation that he did, and he goes through why they're legitimate and how like when they presented it, when that guy messed him up and then like got an award for it or whatever. I remember him talking about how they and he shows it. He documented one step after the other, and they measured the distance, they measured the splay of the toes, they measured, and like there's several of them are very much clearly human footprints, in other words. And so it gets a little sketchy when like there seems to be like some frauds that people may have made and cut out like back in the day because they're trying to get money. Some of those may be frauds, it seems to me, but the ones that Patton uncovered essentially and documented, I think is like almost undeniable or pretty much undeniable. And then I think another line of evidence I would probably feel comfortable with would be going into at least some of the dinosaur soft tissue could maybe bolster it in the sense that it suggests, that they're not as old. And then even mentioning something that would be something I would feel comfortable talking about, at least mentioning maybe.
Yeah. So do you know a lot about the dinosaur tissue? Because I don't have any slides on that.
Well, that's something I know a decent amount, and I would know how to get, like what some of the rebuttals I know that they've offered and where to get information against that. I could get that together. And I could also just get general information about issues. I think even better stuff than Hovind presents in some cases, or better arguments. Not that I'm not trying to put him down at all whatsoever, but I think there's some interesting things to consider from Walt Brown regarding regarding age, I don't try to deny that dating techniques are inaccurate. I think a better route to go is to say, and we can go either way, but I think the better way to say it is like this. Like, I believe in isotope ratio measuring. Okay, those are true, and it is, we know what the half lives are of these isotopes, and I don't think that that's inaccurate. I think those
What's
are
the half-life
true
of
measurements. But
carbon 14?
the question is, where did the ratios come from?
Wait, what's the half-life of carbon 14, bro?
5,600 years.
6,000 years, bro.
5,600.
It's like, huh?
Yeah, 5,600. And there's the reason that some of that is accurate, but at times,
crap,
depending,
though, bro, because that's the whole span of the Earth.
no, because like there's reasons why the carbon cycle would have been different in the past, like before the flood. So that's going to mess with it. And so, but we know, I would say that it is true that carbon's half-life is 5,600 years. It's just that it's,
Bull crap. That's the whole.
but
age
there's
of the Earth.
no, the you think, well, how do you think of it, Chris? I think it's true. I don't think it's a conspiracy that they've measured carbon's half-life rate. It's just that there's contamination in cases, and that processes were different for very varied reasons. And so, like, you can get a general idea of whether something's super old or not. But I think, like, the carbon in the dinosaurs bones shows that they're not old. And so carbon dating in that sense works to show like a order of magnitude that it's not as old. And things like the radioisotopes is a matter of like, where did the isotopes come from? And is there other methods for producing them? I'm not saying they're always accurate. They're not always accurate. That's true also. I'm just saying, like, I believe that they're measuring the isotope ratios accurately, in some cases, but that there's an alternative explanation, because we can measure in the lab, if you don't even want to use this, that's fine, because if you disagree, that's fine. I just think,
Well, that was me.
It
That
makes
was
sense.
Iger, not Chris. I don't know what Chris believes, but I think it's all crap.
No, yeah, I mean, I see what Iger is saying, but I think even Iger would agree that it decays now at a certain measurable rate. It's just that when it comes to carbon 14, and you find it in like coal seams and stuff that's supposed to be millions of years old, it's like if you don't know the age of a certain artifact that's been dug up, well, then carbon dating works. But then if you already know the age, then it's assumed not to work, and that is stupid. That's what I would say.
That's a better way. It's less conspiratorial, because it's like, I don't think they're measuring it wrong. I think they can measure it correctly. It's just that in some cases it's contamination. And I like the Walt Brown model about radioactive decay, to be honest.
Can you carbon date something that's like 200 years old?
I'm not sure. I think
That's
so.
what I'm saying.
I think
So
there's better methods for that, but like
everything
the farther
has to
back
be-
you go to date it, the more problematic
everything
any
has to
method.
be 6,000 years old or more.
Well, that's the thing. You don't have to have it do a full cycle to do the measurement. You can. That is what the
Well,
half-life is.
You look at the strata. So you start measuring the top layers. Okay, you start measuring the carbon 14, and they kind of yield the very top layers. I mean, you go to places where there's still mammal fossils, where you're talking about like at the top of the column. Okay, now you measure the carbon 14 in there, and it's probably going to be within the last 10,000 years. You go deeper in the strata, though, you start getting dates that are like 20, 30,000 years. And that's kind of where you see that something has changed in the atmosphere. Something has actually messed with the level of carbon 14 in the atmosphere to produce that effect, is what I would say. Not that
That's
there are
what
things that 30,000 years old, but that there was less carbon 14 being like introduced into the atmosphere, and so it's
'cause
getting
that's
a
what
greater
it is.
age because there's less of it in the past.
Because it's what it is the carbon cycle. It goes up into the above. It goes through the ground and then comes back up in plants and then goes into the animals. And then, but the way it gets, the reason they know is because the carbon 14 gets hit by the radio. I think it has something to do with the it gets altered from carbon 12 to carbon 14 by like what do you call it, cosmic rays and stuff like that. And so like one out of every so many particles of carbon has that carbon, but it decays back into regular carbon. And so that process stops occurring when it's in the animal and it's buried or whatever. And so you can look at how much has decayed into the natural form from the radioactive form that there's less of. And so then you measure that. And so like something like that, I forget. I'm going to have to go over it again, but there's issues with like when they started using atomic bombs that messed that up. And then it presumably, like even from a biblical model, it makes sense to think for whatever reason, for a varied options you could posit of why that less carbon would be being modified to carbon-14 in the overall supply of carbon in the on the Earth. And so there's going to look like if you assume that the same percentage of carbon-14 existed millions of years into the past, then it's going to seem like there's a lot less of it, or you would have thought there was a lot more of it. And so the reason that there's less of it back then would indicate that that more time has passed. But if less carbon-14 was being modified in the past into carbon-14, which is more radioactive, then it's gonna look like stuff has less carbon-14 in it than it would if that was the same rate. In other words, it's something like that. But I think stuff like that we can just mention in passing to kind of like bolster the idea,
But if you could pinpoint the time period, like using a book, maybe the Bible, and you could tell kind of when the atmosphere was disturbed, well, then you can kind of put a timeline on that and say if something that we carbon date is older than 4,500 years old, then it's probably going to be deep in the strata. It's probably going to be a part of the pre-flood world, and so it's going to yield a carbon date of like 20, 30,000, 40,000, whatever. But if we can find something that's less than 4,500, within the last 4,000 years, we could probably trust it just based on our model, assuming that there was a global flood and all the evidence that goes with that.
I'd be curious, Mark Armitage, who is I'm probably going to look at his stuff for the soft tissue, because he's written papers rebutting some of the supposed explanations and things. But I know he found that Triceratops horn when he got to go to wherever they look for dinosaurs in Wyoming or whatever it is. But what's so fascinating about that is that he found that Triceratops horn and it was like still soft in places and it like was falling apart. But like they literally found it like poking out of the surface. I find that incredible that thing is still around and it was so close to the surface where like, and he talks about that and like how like this is like so close. It was like at the surface. So in other words, the freeze, the thaw and freeze cycle of season to season, year to year would have been affecting that, like penetrating like moss and molds and animals would have had access to that where it was. I find it incredible that would even exist today, at that close to the surface, even if it wasn't always close to the surface. It just seems amazing. It makes me think some of these animals were definitely still around after the flood. Well, after the flood, it makes me think. Although in that area, it seems to be a flooded area, a place where animals were buried by the flood. But it's really a mystery from any perspective how that stuff is around like it is. It's crazy. It's amazing. But all right, man. Yeah, email me and I'll talk to you soon.
Yep.
God bless, guys. I'll talk to you. It was fun.
All right, Jamie. See ya.
Yo. I think we can end it, bro. I'm just gonna not show the whatchamacallit thing again.
Yeah, we played at the beginning and Jamie is left now.
Yeah. So yeah, Peter, man, I showed the thing I sent you earlier on Instagram about the Georgia Guidestones going down. You didn't see it, but I showed it on here at the beginning of the stream. And I'm actually gonna switch it up because I had a transhumanism song that I was gonna play for the outro, but Destiny Lab, which is one of my favorite YouTube young Earth creationist rappers, we actually got a song on dinosaurs, which is pretty good, I think. It's
play that.
I don't know anything they say, but yeah. Hey, we should do a stream on dinosaurs, bro. Before your debate. just because
Yeah, we'll schedule one.
I've saved a lot of stuff on dinosaurs, bro, and I think I show you some of it on Instagram. But I'd like to do a stream on that, bro, because I think half of them are fake, and I think the biblical ones are real, and I also lean towards the mythology stuff a lot too. And there's also a good website of even historical accounts of like even Marco Polo. He goes to when he goes to Asia, he sees some dragons carrying a carriage. There's a lot of historical evidence for dragons, which that's what they were called before 1841 when Sir Richard Owen invented the word dinosaur. For them living with man. So I got some pretty good stuff saved. So yeah, we'll schedule one for that before your Thursday debate, bro. And with that,
Do you want to play this video then?
Yeah. Hold on, it's the wrong screen that I'm sharing right now.
Christopher Sylvius.
Share screen.
Iger, no, he's over there. Iger TV. Come see us again next Wednesday, part 5, the final part of the seminar, which will be, I don't know what the topic is going to be yet. So thanks for tuning in. God bless America. Iger TV, Christopher Sylvius. We're going backstage. Enjoy this outro video.
Wait, let me play this song. Let me play the song as outro. Yeah. All right. God bless y'all in the chat, and I'll catch y'all next Wednesday, or maybe 4 actually, because we should do a stream next Wednesday. Well, we'll talk about it later, bro, about the dinos before your debate. But share my screen though, bro. Chris. There you go. All right.
Open the wisdom that's been told from the days of old. The dinosaur descriptions in the book of Job. Behold the king of all the beasts on the face of the globe. I particularly bestowed in ferocious and bold, stronger than King Kong. His eyes are red like dawn, greater than Gorg on a kraken. He's Leviathan. The water churns with a violent commotion. Upon inspection, his skills are laid in sections. Overlapping just like armor for defense and protection. He strikes fear and terror in the hearts of men, and if you battle him, you will not forget it. Never attempt to ever touch him again, or you'll regret it. His teeth are terrible, his jaws are very powerful. You cannot penetrate the skin of this animal. You'll never kill him with your slings and stones. Ineffective as straw on your spears and arrows. You cannot ring his nose, fire and steam from nostrils. If you jostle this colossal, then he might get hostile. Believe these proportions describe dinosaurs that lived among men, such as Brontosaurus, Caymans, dragons, and salmon. Time and cultures are wanted. Believe these proportions describe dinosaurs that lived among men, such as Brontosaurus, Caymans, dragons, and salmon. Time and cultures are wanted. However, strength of behemoth, swinging his tail like a cedar log, head above the treetops. A herbivore who eats grass like an ox. He can never be caught. He lives in lakes and locks, among the lotus plants and breezes where this monster rocks. Just another unknown, like the Yeti and Sasquatch. Bones like bronze, he's the chief of the ways of God. No one can threaten him or catch him off guard. Storing each of these fabulous beasts, from Hercules to the dragon, chase a battle for the golden fleece. I know it's hard to conceive what ancient peoples believe, and every culture agrees, from the Greek to Chinese. From feathered serpents with wings, the basilisk and the sphinx, the hydra, chimera, and the griffin and banshee. The dragons on the walls of Babylonian gates, plus all the legends around the world about creatures and lakes. Giant squids with the eyes the size of dinner plates. What you think? Do you think they can all be fakes? We believe these proportions describe dinosaurs that lived among men, such as Brontosaurus, Caymans, dragons, and salmon. that we're only recording from time and cultures reported. Leave these proportions describe dinosaurs that live up again, such as brontosaurus, as dragons and sound that we're only recording from time and cultures reported. So take your radiometric decay and your carbon 14 and just put it away. We won't be swayed from the truth by your nonsense. We will protest and request you change contents and recognize that you built your claims on pretense and admit that evolution is a myth of pseudoscience. Some scientists won't admit that being atheist could make them biased when interpreting the evidence. They think we're accidents, their intellect is arrogant. Many dismiss and neglect what is relevant, like the discovery of coelacanth, this living fossil in a fish market, torn out the fossil record. Inconvenient for the seasoned professionals, like professors and professed intellectuals. Their observations gotta fit prevailing paradigms. A pair of pterodactyls probably went paralyzed. Wouldn't believe it if they saw it with their own eyes. Hypnotized like the Holy Bible prophesies. These proportions describe dinosaurs that lived among men, such as brontosaurus, able as dragons and sound that we're only recording from time and cultures reported. These proportions describe dinosaurs that lived among men, such as brontosaurus, able as dragons and sound that we're only recording from time and cultures reported.